Good morning. It's 5 o'clock, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. We're at 53 degrees and cloudy right now. We'll have a beautiful day today, our high 71 degrees. More in the forecast right after the news. Democrats in Congress are calling for an investigation into why senior Trump administration officials were discussing war plans on the commercial messaging app Signal, and how a reporter was invited into that chat. Here's House Speaker Mike Johnson.
The administration is addressing what happened. Apparently, an inadvertent phone number made it onto that thread. They're going to track that down and make sure that it doesn't happen again. What you did see, though, I think, was top-level officials doing their job, doing it well.
The White House confirms that chat appears to be real and says it's investigating how the mistaken invitation was sent out. The reporter says he was accidentally invited by National Security Advisor Mike Waltz. A federal appeals judge in Washington yesterday said that the United States treated alleged Nazis better during World War II than the Trump administration treated Venezuelan migrants last week.
A stunning accusation from federal judge Patricia Millett.
Nazis got better treatment under the Alien Enemy Act.
Grilling a Trump administration lawyer, demanding to know why hundreds of Venezuelans were deported to an El Salvador prison without any due process.
Well, Your Honor, we certainly dispute the Nazi analogy.
The administration's lawyer pushing back on Judge Millett's assertion that Germans deported during World War II under the same Alien Enemies Act used today got better treatment, arguing that President Trump was exercising core presidential powers.
That's ABC News senior national correspondent Terry Moran. Market numbers now brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com.
Major market indexes started the week with gains on Monday on the news that the Trump administration's proposed tariffs would be less expansive than expected. The Dow up 598 points, the S&P 500 climbed 100 points, and the Nasdaq was ahead 405 points. The administration now says tariffs will focus on the top 15% of U.S. trading partners with major trade imbalances. President Trump threatening a 25% tariff on imports from countries that buy oil or gas from Venezuela, along with new tariffs on imports from Venezuela itself. Trump posting on social media that Venezuela would face a secondary tariff because it is home to gangs that have been focus of the administration's deportation efforts. The White House announced South Korea automaker Hyundai plans to invest $5.8 billion in U.S. manufacturing. The investment includes its first U.S. steel mill in Louisiana. Michelle Franzen, ABC News.
Stock futures this morning are pointing down. We've got Dow futures minus 41, NASDAQ futures down 39. The S&P futures, they're losing 5. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News. Okay, great time to hit the road because there is no delay this morning on 24. It looks like it's fine on 40 heading in. 65, no problem. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.506 Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to your friends. How are you? It is Tuesday, March 25th. Hope you are doing well. Journalist Jeffrey Goldberg was somehow accidentally added to and I'm air quoting this, a top secret group text revealing Donald Trump's war plans. Of course, this is all over. I guess this broke at some point yesterday. Now, if you're going to add someone accidentally to a group text of Donald Trump officials, the last person you want is Jeffrey Goldberg from The Atlantic. This dude is a Trump hater through and through. He is notoriously anti-Donald Trump, as is The Atlantic. And Jeffrey Goldberg is the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic. And so Fox News puts it this way. Jeffrey Goldberg, the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic, made the jaw-dropping revelation on Monday when he found himself added to a conversation on Signal, an encrypted yet commercial messaging app. So you've got National Security Advisor Mike Waltz and a whole bunch of other folks. You got Waltz, you've got Marco Rubio, you've got Pete Hegseth, you've got Tulsi Gabbard. You've got a whole bunch of folks that are on this group text. And there is Jeffrey Goldberg, this Trump-hating liberal, and he's just lurking. And he's not telling people that he's there. He's not telling people that somehow he has been added to this discussion. So now everyone is trying to figure out what in the world happened. Secretary of State Pete Hegseth has a thing or two to say about this. He was asked about this whole story as it broke yesterday.
You're talking about a deceitful and highly discredited so-called journalist who's made a profession of peddling hoaxes time and time again, to include the hoaxes of Russia, or the fine people on both sides hoax, or suckers and losers hoax. So this is the guy that peddles in garbage. This is what he does. I would love to comment on the Houthi campaign.
Right. And so Pete Hegseth, by the way, he is absolutely correct. You look at all of the hoaxes that have been perpetuated against Donald Trump, and Goldberg has either been a big-time pusher of those hoaxes, or he's actually started the hoaxes. And so this is the guy that started the whole Donald Trump called dead military veterans suckers and losers hoax, which has been, in my opinion, proven to be a hoax. There were people there that have said that that actually never did happen. He also reported that Donald Trump said that he wanted the kind of generals Hitler had. And so this guy is an anti-Trumper through and through. But one of the things that the left is saying is, well, nobody has actually denied that this actually happened. And guess what? He does have the receipts. I mean, he does have the images of these text messages that were going back and forth when President Trump was planning on bombing the living crap out of the Houthis, which is exactly what he should have done. And so The Atlantic has traditionally been incredibly anti-Donald Trump, reporting on Donald Trump's so-called Russian collusion and a myriad of other things. Of all people, Jeffrey Goldberg in The Atlantic accidentally put on this text thread. And so part of what's going on now is Democrats, they see an opening to go after Donald Trump. They see an opening to go after Republicans. They see an opening to take the focus off of their civil war off of their bad behavior and their low approval ratings to go after Donald Trump. And so Goldberg, of course, was on CNN last night. He was asked about Hegseth's comments and others who have been denying that this has actually happened. This is part of what he had to say.
Nobody was texting war plans. Given you were privy to this group chat, is that how you saw it?
No, that's a lie. He was texting war plans. He was texting attack plans. When targets were going to be targeted, how they were going to be targeted, who was at the targets, when the next sequence of attacks were happening. I didn't publish this, and I continue not to publish it because it felt like it was too confidential, too technical, and I worry, honestly, that sharing that kind of information in public could endanger American military personnel. But no, they were plans for the attack. They were texted before the attack. So
here's what's out there. What is out there, and you just heard Goldberg say that he did not publish the minutia, the idiosyncrasies, the real specific plans, he says, that could impact national security and the lives of our military. But he did publish parts of the conversation that, at least to me, look legit. Now, whether or not they actually are is up to you to believe. But for Mike Waltz, and he's the one who apparently added Jeffrey Goldberg to this text, I mean, it's a bad day for him yesterday. Because he apparently is the one that put Goldberg on the chat initially. Again, I can't frame this enough. Goldberg is public enemy number one against Donald Trump. There's some people that are saying, by the way, that there's no way that this was an accident. There are some people that are saying that with Goldberg, he's got ties inside Donald Trump's White House. He's also got ties inside the intelligence community. And so somehow, some people are saying somehow, Jeffrey Goldberg managed to infiltrate this group text chat. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but the bottom line is it does look like he's got the goods.
And there were things texted that you viewed as so sensitive, you did not even publish them in your report today.
I made the decision that the technical aspects of this, including what kinds of weapons packages, the attack sequencing, and so on, that's not necessarily in the public interest. What's in the public interest is that they were running a war plan on a messaging app and didn't even know who was invited into the conversation. I mean, it's an obvious, ridiculous security breach. And, you know, he if you notice, he didn't actually answer the question.
So here's my question. Jeffrey Goldberg, if he was accidentally put on this, how did that actually happen? Was there another person whose name started with J that was in Mike Waltz's phone or whatever that was supposed to be included here? Is there another person named Jeff? I don't know, but a couple of different things can be true. Goldberg can be a discredited wannabe journalist. He's actually a hack and a narrative peddler for the left, who everyone acknowledges is just an anti-Trump zealot. And yes, it is possible that they accidentally included him on these chats.
I thought it was a hoax. I thought somebody was trying to entrap me. Again, could it have been a foreign intelligence service? Could it have been a gadfly organization that tries to entrap journalists, which we know happens? I didn't know what it was or who it was. But what I did know was that the obvious answer was that this is a real conversation of the national security leadership of the United States. Seemed improbable to me, because why would they do it on Signal? Why would they do this on a messaging app? And why would they invite the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic to watch?
Here's my why. Why didn't you immediately remove yourself from the chat? But obviously, he saw a story, and he stuck with it. He says that there are a total of 18 people on this group chat, and he says that nobody even noticed that he was on the chat or that he eventually removed himself from the group. Got a couple more things on this straight ahead. It is 5:15. Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It is time to check the roads.
No problems on 24 this morning. Looking good on 65 as well. Got that road work on 40 this morning at Donaldson Pike at I-40. It's the road work to install what they call a diverging diamond, and that should be there at least for another year out there at the airport. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Joan. 5:15 as far as your weather today, a high of 73 and mostly sunny. Appreciate you listening to Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So maybe Jeffrey Goldberg is lying.
I do have a little bit of information for you.
That's a pretty big lie. But go ahead, Joan.
Yeah, the Daily Wire is saying that it is possible that Waltz thought that he was adding the Trump trade negotiator Jamison Greer because they both have JG.
Remember what I was saying earlier? I don't know if you heard my monologue, but I was thinking, okay, so who was supposed to be on that text?
Yes.
That was not. Somebody whose name started with J.
So Jamison Greer is a trade negotiator.
Yep.
So maybe, I don't know, like trade negotiator, war plans?
Now, is the Daily Wire, because there's some people that are saying that this whole thing is a ruse, that
Yes.
Goldberg is making this whole thing up. It seems like that seems like a pretty big lie, and it would definitely be provable if he was lying. He's got images. I'm assuming that it's on his phone. He says that this actually happened. He says that nobody within the Trump administration is actually denying this happened. You've got some within the National Security Council and intelligence and military apparatus that are saying that the text messages themselves, even though they were on signal, that it does look legit. So, I mean, I read a lot of conservative media. What are they saying? Are they saying, because I watched Hannity last night, and nobody seems to be saying that these are not real.
Right. They're going along with it. So does it make you wonder, are they going along with it so that they can investigate and find out what the origin of the story is?
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like they did roll over pretty quickly, and I don't know if that's taking accountability. Good for them if that is the case.
Or they're just like, oh, crap. All right, we shanked it.
Yeah.
We were on signal. Shouldn't have been on signal. There's got to be some sort of an app that they use that is more secure than Signal. I mean, you would think.
You would think, yes.
But this is the government, so who knows? By the way, a couple of things in reading the chats. How far have you delved into this, Joan?
I mean, a little bit.
I thought it was interesting that J.D. Vance was against the president on this attack on the Houthis, but he was willing to, show a united front, which is, something a vice president is supposed to do. He also said, I'm tired of bailing out Europe on these kinds of things.
Yes.
Totally get that as well. People within the world of intelligence say that it wasn't good that Goldberg was included on this group text, obviously, but the information that he received wasn't actually top secret intelligence, just a discussion of plans. Now, I don't know because he hasn't published what he says was top secret. So we'll never know whether or not, unless he publishes it, we'll never know if what he was privy to was top secret or not. President Trump, though, here's where a big mistake was made. President Trump was asked about this. Apparently, he was just finding out for the first time in front of the media. He was doing a press conference. I believe this was a press conference related to tariffs and the economy and some investments that Hyundai is making into America, which I'm going to get into. But Trump was blindsided by this. This is how it sounded.
I don't know anything about it. I'm not a big fan of The Atlantic. To me, it's a magazine that's going out of business. I think it's not much of a magazine, but I know nothing about it. You're saying that they had what?
They were using Signal to coordinate on sensitive materials and
having to do with what? Having to do with what? What were they talking about?
With the Houthis.
The Houthis? You mean the attack on the Houthis? Right. Well, it couldn't have been very effective because the attack was very effective. I can tell you that. I don't know anything about it. You're telling me about it for the first time.
Yeah, somebody's going to have a very bad day. I don't know whose job it is to tell Trump, but somebody should have warned him. Do we all,
sure.
Whether or not the story is real or not, well, the story itself is real, but whether or not there's validity to the story, somebody should have warned Donald Trump. But realize, I mean, his day yesterday, I don't know if you how close attention you pay, Joan, to Trump going from room to room, meeting to meeting, because yesterday he had, and I'm just going off the top of my head, he had all of his cabinet in a meeting. That was lasted, I think they said 45 minutes to an hour. He had a cabinet meeting. That was number one. That was televised or, streamed or whatever it was. Then he goes into another meeting with Hyundai, and you had this announcing of this big deal that Trump has come to with the South Koreans to have Hyundai build some cars here, manufacture some steel here as well. Very big story, and I'm going to get to that as well. So he's bouncing from meeting to meeting to meeting to meeting. So they may not have had the opportunity to tell him, hey, look, this is what's up. And he found out about it for the first time, supposedly, right there within that meeting. But here's the thing, within that press conference. But here's the thing. Putting all of that aside, whether or not they should have been doing this whole thing on this commercial text messaging app, or the fact that they accidentally included public enemy number one, Jeffrey Goldberg, put all that aside. It was a successful attack on the Houthis. That's number one. Number two, it was the right thing to do, clearly. And number three, just make sure that when your snarky liberal friends come up to you today and they start trying to poke you about, Trump and, the messaging app and this top secret information and all these other things, just say, you know what? Number one, mistakes happen. But let's look at all of the other positive things that are in the news today, regarding Donald Trump. And I'm going to talk about all of them straight ahead on Nashville's Morning News. By the way, you want to hear the most tone-deaf comment of the day regarding all this? Do you know who CNN went to comment on this particular story, Joan?
Can't even imagine.
You're not going to believe it, even when I play you the audio, and it is coming up next. It is 5:22 on Nashville's Morning News on WTN. Joan Jones has the news at 5:30.
So what's with all the graffiti in East Nashville? We'll take a look. Also, a little girl is rescued from her kidnappers in Kansas. Wait till you hear this story. That's all coming up here at 5:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
527. Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 89.7 WTN, talking about the story regarding the text messaging app Signal and Trump officials supposedly accidentally adding Jeffrey Goldberg, public enemy number one of the Trump administration, to this particular app and text message thread as they were debating going after the Houthi rebels. Now, here's what's crazy. Need some audio. I'm going to play none other. CNN goes to none other than Pete flippin' Buttigieg for some perspective on this.
If there's not accountability for a screw up like this, especially from a president who used to fire people every day on television for sport, what are we even doing here?
Wow. So realize Pete Buttigieg was part of an administration that fired no one. The Biden administration was the leader in not holding people accountable. We had members of our military killed in the failed Afghanistan pullout. Nobody was fired. They had untold number of people killed by Biden's illegal aliens. Nobody was fired. We've had thousands of Americans killed by fentanyl coming across our southern border during the Biden administration. Literally, no one was fired. And yet that is the hot take of Mayor Pete. Okay, good. So, the super texters have some good points on this. So we're going to get into it probably after the news. One of the things that I think people are debating is, should Mike Waltz be fired? Because he's the one that supposedly did this. Now, Caroline Leavitt has said, because she was apparently asked about this, and I read that what she said was President Trump has all kinds of faith in Mike Waltz, and she has confidence. He has confidence in Mike Waltz. So, maybe we'll have that, because I have a different poll question up right now. Watch us on YouTube, like and subscribe to the channel. Take the Daily Dan poll. The current Daily Dan poll, we'll talk about that and a whole lot more straight ahead. It is Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Baptist Church.
You can't hold anybody liable.
Good morning. It's 5:30 now. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. In East Nashville, graffiti is making some headlines. Here's WSMV's Jordan James.
Utility boxes across East Nashville have become defaced with disparaging remarks about Nazis, igniting concerns across the community.
It's definitely abrasive. It's written in bright red.
It's also what Camille Conrad now sees on her daily commute.
I would have to say that I agree with the sentiment, but I don't think that it necessarily needs to be broadcast.
Over the last week, it's been seen several times on utility boxes and underpasses. It's unknown who's responsible or when they were spray painted.
And police say if you see that kind of graffiti, report it to police. Metro Nashville police have arrested the man wanted in the shooting of another man who had been holding his two 7-year-old daughters outside a Nolensville Pike restaurant. 36-year-old Sykevian Forney of Laverne was charged with attempted murder and aggravated assault, among other charges. Kansas State Highway Patrol officers report pulling over an SUV for a traffic violation and arresting the passenger for an outstanding warrant on charges that he had kidnapped a girl several months ago. That's when they noticed a little girl in the back seat. Turns out that girl, who was 6 years old, had also been kidnapped. Kansas Highway Patrol reports that girl was unharmed and both men were taken into custody. That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News. Yeah, we're starting to tap the brakes now, heading in on 24 this morning, right in the, looks like right in the Smyrna area, heading up toward Nashville. Things are fine on 40, and I see no delay so far on 65. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.536, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to your friends. How are you? Joan Jones is here. KGB's here as well. I'm here. How are you? So, Joan, it looks like we have some pretty good disagreement over this whole story regarding Jeffrey Goldberg and, the Signal text messaging app and so forth. Some people say that maybe it was purposeful misinformation. The problem is to hear Goldberg tell it is that everything on the text message thread turned out to be true. Like he saw the decisions being made in real time, and then like 90 minutes to 2 hours later, the bombing happened. So there is that. So it doesn't seem like there is misinformation in the text thread, at least from what Goldberg says. I don't know because I haven't seen it. Other people say that Mike Waltz absolutely ought to get fired. By the way, Waltz is Trump National Security Advisor, Mike Waltz. He should absolutely be fired.
That seems logical, in my humble opinion. I like Mike Waltz, but that kind of a mess up, I mean, somebody's got to pay for it at some point. And that would be the logical explanation.
Okay, so right now, the Daily Dan poll is this. Help me, KGB. What is our Daily Dan poll?
Our Daily Dan poll is, has Jasmine Crockett advocated for violence? Because she's been, saying things, but she's always, trying to defend herself, saying it's not.
Okay, so when KGB and I spoke before the show, she is out there, and Jasmine Crockett has been saying, oh, no, I don't advocate for violence. This is part of what she has said in the past.
I just want to say that I have never promoted violence whatsoever.
So there's audio where she is going after, and I've got a far larger discussion on this later on in the program, but there's new audio of Jasmine Crockett where she is talking about taking out Ted Cruz.
But, it's Ted Cruz. I mean, this dude has to be knocked over the head, hard, right? There is no niceties with him, at all. You go clean off on him, right?
So I had to look up.
Clean?
Go clean off. I had to look it up, too.
Oh, clean off on him.
Do you know what go clean off means?
Tell me.
KGB, do you know what it means?
It's more of a get rid of them kind of a feel.
Go clean off is a slang phrase that can have, conveniently, different meanings depending on the context, but it generally implies someone going all out, losing control, getting extremely excited or angry. It is often used to describe someone who is reacting intensely or extravagantly, they say, to a situation. So she is denying that she is, because she parses her words.
She can deny all she wants.
Yeah, she can deny all she wants. So I'd be willing to bet. So my great Daily Dan poll today was, do you believe that the Jasmine Crockett has been advocating for violence? To me, clearly she has been, but she phrases it in such a way where she can say, I don't advocate for violence. When I said that somebody needs to go clean off on Ted Cruz, I just mean politically. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
So
what about the part where she says beat him over the head?
Well, again, she can say, well, I just meant that politically, right? So I would be willing to bet, though, that 100% of the people said, of course, she is advocating for violence.
Yeah.
97%.
Who are the 3%?
I
want to know who those.
want to know.
It's almost like, you know what I want to do?
A misclick? Easily could be a misclick.
I would love to, I'm not going to, but I would love to open up the phone lines. I want to talk to the 3%. Who are you that you don't believe that she is Jasmine Crockett, America's treasure, by the way, Jasmine Crockett, is not advocating for violence. So I think what we want to do, let's change the poll because clearly that's going to be a one-sided poll.
5% now.
Okay.
No.
So, new poll question is going to be, should Mike Waltz, Trump's national security advisor, be fired for accidentally? Because a lot of people are saying, why does Mike Waltz, Trump national security advisor, why exactly does he have Jeffrey Goldberg from The Atlantic, public enemy number one? Why is Goldberg in his phone?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
That's a really good question.
Well, but here's my response. The reason you would identify Goldberg in your phone is to make sure that you don't answer his call.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. Yes.
Do you know that I've got two people? I've got two people in my phone. Do you know that I actually have changed the name to just simply do not answer? They're people that I know.
KGB, it's me and you.
No,
Exactly.
It's not you two. There's two people in my life where I say the top line, do not answer. And I always know that it's them if they call because it just says do not answer and I don't.
Is it Matt? And
no, I love those guys. There's nobody here.
Ooh.
By the way, have you ever accidentally, Joan or KGB, have you ever accidentally texted somebody something and include you text something and you include that person on a text? You ever done that?
I have not.
You ever pulled a Mike Waltz?
I haven't, but it's been done to me. So somebody was making...
Oh, it's been done to me, too.
Yeah, disparaging remarks about me to my bosses, and they accidentally sent it to me instead.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's when you pull up the hair, just pull up the sleeves and ready to go.
That's when you got to go clean off.
Yeah.
Joan, you got to go clean off on
Yeah.
somebody.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Do you want to get into details? Want to get into details as what they said?
Yeah. Oh, sure. So it was where I had worked before.
Yeah.
And where I worked before, we had co-anchors. It was an all-news station, and we had co-anchors. And so I was paired with somebody else, and this somebody else was very
rude, mean.
No,
Liberal?
he toted liberal. He toted the liberal line. So you know that he got the email every day saying, "Okay, today we're going to hit J6 again and again and again." Like that's why we did so much of what we did. And he was very frustrated that I wasn't towing the line. So it was a discussion about how I'm in my own echo chamber.
Which is kind of funny because
what an irony!
Yes,
is that?
where you worked,
exactly.
They were their own echo chamber,
They were.
And they were all liberal, and you were the person that was against the grain there.
Very much against the grain. And I was my goal was always to try to say, hey, let's not tell it from one point of view. Let's tell it from down the middle. And nobody bought that line. So yeah, I was operating in my own echo chamber. And as soon as it was sent,
you probably wanted to use the word allegedly when describing some of the J6ers, right?
Yeah,
so.
that and just everything having to do with Trump. They just, they bought the hook, everything, hook, line, and sinker, the Russian hoax, all of it. They bought all of it, hook, line, and sinker.
Okay.
Is this the Keith Olbermann network? Like, what is?
Yeah, pretty much. So, yeah, that it did happen to me. And it was pretty embarrassing for that person. And but when you have to work alongside that person,
right?
You have to just shrug it off and move on, knowing what they believe, but shrug it off and move on.
Did they apologize?
Yes, but it was insincere.
Oh, did they apologize?
You should have been nice. You should have been more nice than like, it was.
What did you?
Such an
what did you say when the person did that? Were you like, whatever, or it's fine, or you're a jack-a, or what? How did you? Because the damage is done.
Right. Yeah. And that was my point. Look, bud, the damage is done. I know how you feel about me. Now it's confirmed by this. And you and I are still going to have to work together. So let's just move on. And I will just despise you and you will despise me. It happens every day with people on the air.
There are people that, I've worked with that despised me and I returned the favor and nobody ever knew on the air.
And that's what you have to do as a professional. No one would ever know that we fundamentally did not like each other.
So my mom was an alcoholic. And so we had two things happen at one time. So my mom, God bless her soul, she passed away. But she accidentally sent a lovey-dovey text.
Oh, no.
To her boyfriend. Now, realize mom was like in her 70s. A lovey-dovey text to her boyfriend. Nothing X-rated, but a lot of heart and kiss emojis, that kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at this and I'm like, what the hell is... And so then I realized what she had done. And so she sent it to me and my brother. Now, I, of course, find it funny. And I was commenting to Amy, looks like, mom's really getting up there. You got to take the device away from mom. She can't handle it because she accidentally sent my brother and I this lovey-dovey.
That's funny.
You know what I did? I texted back.
You did?
Including to my mom. Oh, it looks like mom's drinking again. LOL. Oh, my. So then, of course, the joke is that I can't handle the technology either because I included my mom when I only meant to include my brother. So.
What was her response?
Yeah, what did she say about it?
She thought it was funny.
Oh, of course.
No, because, my mom, she's so awesome. She's so, unflappable.
Yeah.
And so she laughed. And she said, nope, I'm not drinking, just OLD. Old. So it was pretty funny. Do you know I got a new iPhone 16 over the weekend?
Yes, I got to oogle it over there.
So,
beautiful.
Yeah, it's...
I got to ogle. I got to ogle it.
Whatever.
Yeah.
And do you know, I was so terrified because I've got all these old voice messages from my mom.
Yes, and you wanted to keep
on
them?
my old phone.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to so I was like, I'm like, I don't know why Amy stays with me, but I'm like, she's been trying to get me to get a new phone for like 2.5, 3 years, right? Because my old phone was a piece of junk. And so I said, yeah, but I don't want to lose all the messages from my mom. And she's like, they can be transferred over to the new phone. It's okay. And all these photos and everything. And I know that in my heart. I, of course, know that in my heart. I was so paranoid. So I go into the Apple store, and I'm telling the guy, okay, now I've got all these messages and all of these photos. He says, it's okay, bro. It's gonna transfer right over to your new phone. Don't worry about it. It's all gonna be fine.
That's so cool.
And they're very nice. You know, sometimes I think these younger kids, I think they kind of eye roll me sometimes, Joan.
Of course they do. They eye roll all of us. I don't mean just you.
By the way, Joan, that message was directed at KGB.
I had a feeling.
That message was directed at KGB.
You know what's funny? I'm looking at I got an upgrade like a couple years ago, and I still have voicemails from 2019 on there.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
I haven't even looked at these, and all of them were like old job applications getting back to me, and I just didn't bother because I already had a job at the time.
0939, Dan, transfer all that stuff onto a computer. You know what I actually did?
Yeah.
I emailed a bunch to myself.
Yeah, that's good.
Yes.
So now in my Gmail, I've got a bunch of old messages from my mom.
But watch your Gmail, too. You know, because it gets too full, and then they start pounding on you to buy more cloud space.
Jason says, calm down, boomer.
Boomer. I love it.
Riker called me a boomer once. It was the funniest thing I'd ever heard in my life. Because I didn't really get the joke. And and Riker said, well, that's part of being a boomer. It's like, okay, whatever. Moving right along.
You're going to be called boomer on the text line throughout the rest of the show now.
Yeah.
Whatever. Let's see here. What are people saying about the, let's see, Dan's best story, car ride with mother and brother, no cars coming, mom, but there's a truck. I don't remember that story. Maybe I told the story about my mom and a truck and driving down the road.
These listeners' memories are insane.
It is incredible. Like, people will bring up stuff that I've forgotten about, like, years ago. So, but whatever.
Somebody just texted. So Joan came from a very liberal news station. That does not surprise me. I could tell her left-leaning side right off the map.
Oh, my Lord. Who said what?
Who's listening?
What?
2133. Read that one.
Oh, 2133 is trying to troll you.
Oh, I see. Okay.
He's trying to troll you.
I was about to say
there
is no way on planet Earth.
No.
It's like, have you listened?
Joan was about to go clean off on 2133.
I'm just like, that's libelous right there.
Yes. No, there's nothing left-leaning about Joan.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not one thing.
I'm reading some of his past texts now, and I see.
She won't even use her left turn signal.
She just makes right turns all the way,
exactly.
all the way through.
All
She
the
needs to
way.
go left. She just does a circle.
That's right.
And I heard she never wears blue
Doesn't look good on me anyway.
for the Democrats, you know.
I do the red thing all day long.
Yeah.
And you also, is there any truth to the rumor, Joan, that you go and abuse donkeys at every chance?
Well, I mean, they deserve it.
Well, they are donkeys.
They're donkeys.
Isn't it kind of funny that we
She
keep
has
calling
a pet elephant.
Isn't it kind of funny that we keep talking about how jackasses the Democrats are, and their animal is a donkey?
Yeah.
I mean, isn't that funny?
Yes. It's crazy.
It's not an accident.
That's what I'm saying. It's not an accident. Dan says, pretty sure you're a Gen Xer, bro. I don't know what I am.
year were you
2787. I was born in 1967.
All right,
So you are a
Am I
Gen
a Gen
Xer?
Xer? All right, fair enough.
So I was born in 64, and I think I'm the last year of the boomers.
Okay.
Gen X is mid 60s to early 80s.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're a Gen X. I'm a millennial. I barely made it to millennial. Thank God, because I don't want to be whatever the Gen Z is.
I think what happened is, because I think I've had this conversation before with Riker and Amy, and I think they both actually, though, agreed that I tend to act like a boomer. But I don't know I don't know how a boomer acts. Like, what is the difference in personality between a boomer and a Gen Xer? I don't even know.
Yeah. I think
I just got to be me, folks. I've been saying that.
Are you going to break out in song now?
Nobody wants that.
The Greatest Showman starring Dan Manning.
But I've always said, because people are always like, why do you do what you do? Why do you say what you say on the radio? Do you ever listen to yourself? And my thing is always, I got to be me. Otherwise, I would be inauthentic. And people can definitely tell inauthentic talk show hosts. So I let the crazy fly. And sometimes I go clean off. Even on myself.
Now you're going to use that all day long, aren't you?
All day long.
Oh, man.
All day. So apparently that's probably what a boomer would do.
Yes.
We got to go. 5:53, Joan.
Hey, who's responsible when migrants commit crimes? There's a new law coming out of the Tennessee lawmakers to deal with that. We'll tell you about it coming up here at 6 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Did you know you're overpaying for your health and wellness products?
With over 20 company-owned brands offering its members vitamins, supplements, wellness, and skincare products, you're able to save up to 70% off retail.
Members Nutrition can't change your life, but we can change the way you live.
Like, what is the difference in personality between a boomer and a Gen Xer? I don't even know.
Yeah, I think
I just got to be me. 5:58, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk, 89.7 WTN. I love what 3616 has to say on the Super Text line. You ready? The last four letters of Republican is I can. The last four letters of Democrats is rats.
That's perfect.
I get it.
I love that, right? I know I had to read it a time or two, and then I got it.
Oh, yeah.
By the way, Tammy found me on X. You can follow me at Dan Mandis Show. If it is determined who inadvertently included Jeffrey Goldberg in the top secret group text, whether it's Mike Waltz or anyone else, and she's tagging all these people, that person should be relieved of their position in the Trump administration in the spirit of the Doge firings. Here's the deal, friends, and I like Mike Waltz, and I love what Trump has done with his administration, but I'm always holding myself accountable to not being a hypocrite. And so we screamed for 4 years, nobody gets fired in the Biden administration, and I can't then say, well, this isn't worthy of getting fired. I think it is, and again, I like Mike Waltz. So we'll have to see what happens to him. If it turns out that he is the one that included Goldberg in the super secret text thread on Signal. By the way, that is our daily Dan poll. What are the results real quick, KGB?
53 no to 47 yes. So it's close.
Okay, so it's close. Got a lot more straight ahead. Big victories for Donald Trump. What the left doesn't want you to hear is coming up next on Super Talk 89.7 WTN.
Good morning, 6 o'clock now. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. We've got clouds and 53 degrees right now, but it'll turn out to be a really gorgeous day. Stick around for the forecast coming up right after the news. A new bill being considered in the state legislature would hold churches and homeless shelters responsible if an illegal alien staying there commits a crime. Sam Seipel at Nashville Rescue Mission tells Fox 17 that would be a mistake.
Our intent here is not to be a sanctuary city, but we are a sanctuary for folks who are looking to get off the dangers of the streets and get some help, get some hope, get some food, get some shelter. So our goal is, again, to help and provide human services. It's not to enforce immigration.
The bill is co-sponsored by Senator Brent Taylor and Representative Rusty Grills. They say amendments are coming to this bill, including possibly what liability entails. The White House has acknowledged that an anti-Trump journalist was mistakenly added to a national security group chat in which top Trump officials discussed airstrikes in Yemen. The Atlantic editor-in-chief, Jeffrey Goldberg, says the others in the chat included Vice President J.D. Vance, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, and others. President Trump seemed to have learned about it during a press conference when asked by a reporter. It had already been hours after that story was published, and that surprises Goldberg.
I would find it somewhat surprising that someone didn't tell the president right away that we've had an inadvertent security breach of pretty dramatic proportions.
The Daily Wire says it is possible that Waltz thought he was adding top Trump trade negotiator Jamison Greer to the chat, since both Goldberg and Greer have the initials JG. The FBI announcing it has launched a new task force comprised of counterterrorism agents to investigate who is targeting Tesla dealerships, cars, and charging stations.
The FBI is launching a task force now to investigate attacks on Tesla dealerships and cars. A new intelligence assessment cites lone offenders fueled by anger toward Elon Musk. Yesterday, police found incendiary devices at a dealer in Austin.
ABC's Lionel Moisey. Market Numbers Report brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com.
After a deep dive last week, stocks have posted back-to-back advances. The Dow Jones on Monday rose 600 points and closed at 42,583. The S&P picked up 1 3/4%. The Nasdaq Composite gained 2 1/4%. President Trump now promises to slap 25% tariffs on imports from countries that buy oil or gas from Venezuela. He may be easing off on some other sanctions, though. Sources tell ABC News next week's reciprocal tariffs may be narrowed.
And right now, the stock market futures are mixed. We've got the Dow futures down 16. The NASDAQ futures are down just a fraction, but the S&P futures are up 2 points. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News. Looks like a little more volume now heading on 24, the westbound side from Smyrna up to the curve there as you hit Route 40. Otherwise, Interstate 40 make that. Otherwise, on 65, it's looking good. Just a little bit of slowing as well. And no problems to speak of on 40. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.606 Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to your friends. How are you? Welcome on into a Tuesday, March 25th of 2025. Headline from CNN. They are all over this text messaging thing. Senate panel questions top U.S. intel officials after war chat mistake. Now, we spent a good part of the 5 o'clock hour talking about this, and so we'll continue our coverage. Senators asking questions, which, by the way, as they should. Caroline Leavitt has come out and she has said there's no issue with Mike Waltz. President Trump has confidence in Mike Waltz and his entire national security team. And so they're going to have to deal with that all throughout the day. If you don't know what I'm talking about, stay close because it'll keep coming up throughout the morning here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. But do you know why CNN? Do you know why they are so focused on this Signal app story where the Trump administration accidentally included a reporter on some sort of super secret conversation regarding the attack on the Houthi rebels? And so this is a big deal, and this is bad. But do you know why CNN is like all over this? Oh, no, I can't even imagine what MSNBC is doing. It's because they don't want to report on another big win for Donald Trump.
South Korean auto giant Hyundai will announce a $20 billion investment in the United States when its chairman visits the White House today.
Hyundai has announced a $20 billion investment in America, $5 billion for a steel plant in Louisiana. This is the tariffs, folks. This is the tariffs, and yes, they are working. From the Associated Press, the $5.8 billion Louisiana facility will be the car manufacturer's first steel manufacturing facility in America, and it will produce more than 2.7 million metric tons of steel a year. And here's the best part. It'll create 1,400 jobs. It'll supply steel to auto plants in Alabama and Georgia, Donald Trump said in remarks at the White House. Now, this is going to be Hyundai's largest investment in America. And it's about steel. Now, again, remember, Donald Trump has put a 25% tariff on steel made outside of America. So what does Hyundai do out of South Korea? They say, okay, then we'll go ahead and we'll invest $20 billion into America, including a $5 billion steel plant in Louisiana to escape those tariffs. Trump's tariffs are working. So like many other companies that went ahead and decided to have that steel made in America and enjoy the benefits of having steel made in America, good for South Korea. They knew that this was something that they had to do.
And he has told companies around the world that America is open for business. And you won't face any tariffs if you bring your production to the United States. You will have low taxes, low energy costs, and you will have the best workforce in the world. You will hire American workers. And so every single one of these investments, the American people need to understand, this is more money coming into your community. This is your hometown where you grew up that has been shuttered because globalists have sold you out, reviving again. Factories where your neighbors are having good paying jobs, where more money is going back into your pockets. And every time you go to the store to purchase a product, you're no longer seeing made in China on the back. You are seeing made in America on the back.
There we go. Caroline Levitt on Sean Hannity's show last night. So just make sure that you're keeping track of all of this, right? I know that the news, these days the news is ricocheting around the internet at 1,000 miles an hour. And stories can be dated within 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes. But make sure that you're keeping track. Because I guarantee you, the folks on the left, the CNNers and the MSNBC and all of these people, they are all about trying to tear down Donald Trump any possible chance that they get. So don't forget all of the foreign investments in America, companies and countries like the United Arab Emirates. They are investing $1.4 trillion in America, thanks to Donald Trump. Saudi Arabia, $600 billion. Hyundai, $20 billion. That just came down yesterday. Apple, $500 billion. NVIDIA, over $100 billion. SoftBank, OpenAI, and Oracle, $100 billion. Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, $100 billion. Johnson & Johnson, $55 billion. CGM Group, $20 billion. I don't even know what that one is. Eli Lilly, $27 billion. Merck, $1 billion. GE Aerospace, $1 billion. The point that I'm making is that Trump is on fire. He's doing really well. And what that list will tell you, what that list proves to you, my friends, is that tariffs work.
Tariffs work, and President Trump is proving that every single day when new companies from around the world are pledging to invest billions of dollars in the United States of America and our workforce.
Right. So remember, this is a multi-pronged effort. You make it profitable for companies to build here, to develop here, to manufacture here. That brings jobs and that brings money. So if Hyundai is going to face a 25% tariff on steel If they make it in another country and then export it into America, we import it, then that's going to be a 25% tariff. So instead of dealing with the tariff, why don't we just go ahead and make the stuff in America? 1,400 jobs. And those are just jobs, by the way, that are directly impacted. Because you look at the communities where these jobs are going to be created, then that has an impact on local grocery stores. That has an impact on local restaurants and coffee shops as well. I mean, I could go on and on. So when you do something to stimulate the American economy and create job growth here in America, doesn't matter if the media starts freaking out at every turn. It means that you are looking out for America. And that is exactly what Donald Trump has been doing.
In particular, Hyundai will be building a brand new steel plant in Louisiana, which will produce more than 2.7 million metric tons of steel a year, creating more than 1,400 jobs for American steelworkers. And then there'll be major expansion after that. This will be Hyundai's first ever steel mill in the United States, one of the largest companies in the world, by the way, supplying steel for its auto parts and auto plants in Alabama and Georgia, which will soon produce more than 1 million American-made cars every single year. Get ready. This investment is a clear demonstration that tariffs very strongly work, and I hope other things also, but the tariffs are bringing them in at levels that have not been witnessed.
I mean, listen, I just read you the laundry list of positive economic news that Donald Trump has brought to the American economy. And I know that there's still a lot of people that are worried about tariffs, but we are also seeing positive impacts almost weekly, if not every few days, of companies that are coming into America to avoid those tariffs. And I do see very clearly what Donald Trump is trying to do. Coming up, we are going to hear from the governor of Louisiana. Remember, he's getting a big steel manufacturing plant in his state. What he has to say about Donald Trump is straight ahead. It is 6:15, time to check the roads on WTN. .616 on Nashville's Morning News. As far as your weather for today, a high of 73, mostly sunny right now, 53 degrees at Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Appreciate you listening to Nashville's Morning News. And the governor for the state of Louisiana, a guy by the name of Jeff Landry, hope I got his name right. Jeff Landry is the governor of Louisiana. He is really excited because he does say that Donald Trump is making all the right calls. Here's part of what he said.
I believe that a lot of these projects are coming back to the United States because of the position that the president has had, where he is basically opening up America to fair trade. The reciprocal tariffs, again, I got to tell you, Sandra, in my opinion, are absolutely genius. But again, we're seeing record investment in the state of Louisiana as well as around the country. And we can only credit the president and his policies.
I mean, there you have it. By the way, KGB, will you print me a story on this? FBI launches task force targeting anti-Tesla domestic terrorism. I think that's good, and it's about time, and I'll add that into a segment that I have later on. But, yeah, I want to see the FBI. I want Kash Patel. I want Pam Bondi. I want Donald Trump to go after these domestic terrorists. Because I think that is part of what's going on with all of this vandalism that is happening with Tesla. We'll get into that in the next hour here on Nashville's Morning News. AP reports Donald Trump's big win yesterday with Hyundai this way. U.S. President Donald Trump saying on Monday also that automobile tariffs are coming soon, even as he indicated that not all of his threatened tariffs would be imposed on April 2nd, as he's been promising, and some countries may even get some breaks, a move that Wall Street took as a sign of flexibility with the president on a matter that has roiled markets for weeks. So it looks like Trump is softening his stance a little bit on tariffs. And, we've been telling you all this time, it's about negotiation. That is what the president has been doing. Axios is reporting it this way. The White House plans to spare specific sectors from wide-ranging tariffs expected early next month, April 2nd. Bloomberg and the Wall Street Journal reported on Monday. Now, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said the administration will likely impose reciprocal tariffs on about 15% of the nations with ongoing trade imbalances with the United States. But they're not saying, we got to get some oil on that door, man. That scared the crap out of me. Joan, could you hear that?
I did.
The squeak on that door?
Yeah.
When did that scared me?
Good Lord, man. Thank you, KGB.
I was trying to be quiet, I promise. That usually doesn't happen.
It's all good, man. It's all good. Anyway, so, yeah, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent saying the administration will likely impose reciprocal tariffs on about 15% of nations with the ongoing trade imbalances with the United States. They're not saying, though, which nations will escape these tariffs or which nations will end up with the tariffs. So it sounds like, Trump and... I hate to sound like somebody who's always saying this because I don't always say this. Sometimes I roll my eyes at this. But I do believe that this is one of those moments where Donald Trump is actually, doing the whole three-dimensional chess thing. I think that Trump has a plan. He had a plan. That plan is being executed perfectly. And the president knows exactly what he's doing when it comes to the economy. So we'll continue to watch that story for you and a whole lot more, actually, straight ahead on Super Talk 99.7 WTN, 620 on Nashville's Morning News. And Joan Jones is in the WTN newsroom. I wonder, Joan, if your door squeaks like mine does.
I think it might.
Not surprising.
As my dad would say, just needs a little WD-40.
That's what we need. We need WD-40 in here, so... they'll put it in the budget for next year. Moving right along.
Yeah, sure. So it appears a police investigation into the Covenant school shooting is close to being concluded. We've got that. More coming up here at 6:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Joan. All righty, 621, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. By the way, I'm here to tell you I'm really excited. I don't know if they've actually done one yet, but Murphy Show and Cameron Smith, that sounds like an outstanding podcast. All the best words. And if you haven't checked it out, I don't know. KGB, do you know if they've actually done one yet?
I do not.
I know they had a test run. And so,
I don't think they posted that, though.
And from what I understand, it was outstanding. So I cannot wait to hear all the best words with Murphy Show and Cameron Smith. Find all the deets at 997WTN.com. All right, 622. The weather here in Middle Tennessee, y'all know that it can get crazy, which is why you need a backup home standby generator from my friends at the Generator Supercenter. Now, they are the nation's #1 Generac generator dealer. Now, you can get a free quote and get peace of mind when you have one installed. The Generator Supercenter does feature expert installation and, yes, 24-hour monitoring as well. So the power goes out, they're not going to leave you in the dark. Financing is available. Call them. Tell them Dan told you to reach out at 615-879-1952. 615-879-1952. Generator Supercenter of Nashville.com. 625 on WTN. You know, for me, my backyard is my oasis. Now, I bet a lot of you folks feel the same way, which is why I am so glad that my friends at Save a Tree came into my life. Save a Tree can help your trees, your bushes, your plants, and your shrubs look amazing. Now, if they're sick, Save a Tree can nurse them back to health. If they don't look right, Save a Tree can make them look incredible with the proper pruning. Now, they did come over to my house. I told them that I had a lot of issues with my plants and my trees and my shrubs. They did give me some great suggestions on how to fix my crepe myrtles and my shrubs and my trees. Now, these folks are actual arborists. Now, they can do wonders for your back or your front yard. They can make your lawn look amazing and weed-free. They can treat yellow leaves and diseased shrubs. And yes, they can help your trees come back to life. See how beautiful your yard can be. Set up your own evaluation at saveatree.com. Spelling is important. SAVATREE. Saveatree.com. You can also simply dial pound 250 on your smart device and say the keyword Save a Tree. That's pound 250, keyword Save a Tree. .627, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. By the way, speaking of tariffs and Donald Trump winning, did you hear what he's doing to Venezuela? I absolutely love this. I don't know. You know what we ought to do? We ought to do at some point, at KGB, let's remember to do this. Who is your most hated American adversary, right? You've got Venezuela. You've got Iran, you've got China, you've got Russia, because Russia's like a frenemy, right? And you got North Korea. So you've got those five. Venezuela is rapidly becoming my most hated or least, most hated American adversary. But it's between them and Iran. But anyway, so did you hear what Donald Trump did to Venezuela? What he's going to do is he is going to impose tariffs of 25% on any nation that purchases oil from Venezuela. So if you are, for example, China, because China buys a lot, by the way, you know who else gets a lot of oil from Venezuela? America, through this agreement that they have with Chevron that Donald Trump is thinking about rescinding, but that's a whole nother conversation. But China gets a lot of oil from Venezuela. So basically what Trump is saying is that if you are making Venezuela stronger, China, then we're going to tariff 25% of your goods coming into our country because you're buying oil from Venezuela because Venezuela is trying to destroy our country with their rapists and murderers coming out of their prisons. I love that Trump is doing that. Now, coming up next, Jonathan Fahey is going to join us. Have a lot to speak about with him, including illegal immigration. Trump is making great strides there. Also, how does Jonathan Fahey feel about this whole Signal app controversy? Remember, Jonathan used to work in the Trump administration, the first one. So we're going to talk to him about that and a whole lot more straight ahead. It is Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Well, hello there. It's 6:30. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. Within the next 2 weeks, reportedly, we will finally hear from the Metro Nashville Police Department on the conclusion of its investigation into the Covenant School shooting. The Tennessee Star says investigators have spent 2 years poring over the 900 pages of writings the killer left behind. 28-year-old Audrey Hale is a biological female who identifies as a transgender man. She killed 3 students and 3 faculty members at the school where she once attended. As missiles continue to fly over Israel and Gaza, the United Nations has made an announcement.
The Secretary General has taken the difficult decision to reduce the United Nations footprint in Gaza, even as humanitarian needs soar and our concern over the protection of civilians intensifies. We are not leaving Gaza. I repeat, the United Nations is not leaving Gaza. We remain committed to continuing to provide aid that civilians depend on for their survival and for their protection.
That's UN spokesman Stefan Dujarric. The decision comes after an Israeli tank strike hit a UN compound, killing 1 staffer and wounding 5 others. The former Kentucky sheriff, who's accused of shooting a judge inside his courthouse chambers, is planning to use the insanity defense. Lecter County Sheriff Sean Steins had been friends with District Judge Kevin Mullins before the shooting, which was captured on video. The motive for that shooting has never been released. That's the latest news, traffic, and weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Thank you, Joan. Spring cleaning time in Middle Tennessee, and Zero Res is offering you a great way to get your carpets clean and save you money. Now, I've been a customer for Zero Res for years and years because they don't use harsh chemicals and they don't use harsh soaps, just powered water. And that does mean pure safety for your family and your pets. So I want you to think about the last few months. We had all that snow, we had all of that rain, and all of that dirt and grime and bacteria. It gets tracked into your home. You need a carpet cleaning company that can safely get your carpets clean. Not only does Zero Res have the highest approval rating possible from the Carpet and Rug Institute, Zero Res is rated the #1 cleaning system in the nation by an independent testing laboratory. When they clean, there is nothing left behind. They've also got great reviews on both Google and Facebook, and yes, from my family as well. Right now, they've got a great deal going on for the month of March. 2 rooms of carpets cleaned for only $109, and you get 25% off of area rugs. I'm going to repeat it. A great deal. 2 rooms of carpets cleaned for only $109, 25% off of area rugs as well. Restrictions may apply. Call Zero Res and take advantage. 615-535-9376. 615-535-9376. Tell them Dan told you to reach out. Book online at ZeroResNashville.com. .634 Nashville's Morning News. Listen, that pre-summer stress is starting to kick in. How confident are you that you're ready to slide into that bathing suit? Now, if you need help, like so many of us do, sadly, check out Contours of Cool Springs. They are experts in red light technology. They are experts in helping you get rid of that fat. Now, they can help you lose 2 inches of fat in that first session, or it is absolutely free. Now, I've done it. It works my pants noticeably looser. And by the way, if you're not satisfied, your session is free. You know that Contours in Cool Springs, they are the only place in Tennessee with this cutting-edge red light technology. Folks come from everywhere because what Contours offers is unique and effective. See how it works at their website, contoursllc.com. Now, right now, Contours is offering you a $99 belly buster special to the first 10 callers. Now, this is going on right now. They got somebody actually sitting at the office right now. saving you a whole bunch of money. So you call this number, 615-236-9960. You get that belly buster special for only $99 to the first 10 callers. That is normally a $600 value. 615-236-9960, 615-236-9960, ContoursLLC.com.
There's a lot of backup here on 24 now, and not really clear what it is, but it looks like there's something happening on 24 westbound right at Harding Place. There's a lot of backup in that area. It looks like it's more than normal. We do have delays as well. Ashland City Highway eastbound side at Jenny Brown Lane because of a crash. And there's a crash as well in Goodlettsville. This is at the off-ramp left lane, Vietnam Veterans Boulevard at the ramp to southbound I-65. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.636, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Welcome on in to Nashville's Morning News. My name is Dan Mandis, along with Joan Jones. KGB producing this morning, and one of my favorite guests, Jonathan Fahey, is joining us on the Newsmaker hotline. Jonathan, always great to have you on. So I've been dying to ask your opinion on this whole controversy regarding the Signal app. I've been calling him public enemy number one, if you're part of the Trump administration, Jeffrey Goldberg, and how he was, they say, accidentally included on a group text as they were planning the final stages for bombing the Houthis there in Yemen. And so this is, of course, a very big deal, and it is a big deal. It does seem like it's true, but I think part of the conversation is, okay, so what actual top secret information did this guy see? Well, nobody knows because he is saying that it was there, but he's not publishing it. So, I mean, what do you think of all of this? I mean, CNN is like off the charts with the coverage.
Yeah, I think they've been waiting for something to, and what they're doing, the standard move, what they do is like elevate something that I don't think it's insignificant, but trying to make it seem like the biggest deal ever. And we've seen this before, and they also minimize things, which we saw with Abbygate and other things on the Biden administration. They always, minimize things. But it certainly is it's a real issue, and I think the administration really would be, the best move is probably acknowledge it happened and take corrective action to make sure it doesn't happen. And this reporter is out to get them, but they know all the reporters are out to get them, so it's really more of a reason they should be more careful in the future on things like this. But I do think, it's significant. It didn't lead to anyone dying, didn't lead to anyone being harmed in any way, which is quite a bit different than under the Biden administration with Afghanistan and things like that. But it's still, something they need to, I think, deal with and just sort of put it behind them. But the media is going to try to keep this thing going because it's really the first time that in my view, they've been able to lay a glove on the Trump administration in, over 2 months now. So they're going to ride it as long as they can. I think the administration just needs to, move on to other things.
Well, and you were so right. I mean, they were effectively silent on the border for many, many years. You're right. The coverage of Abbygate, rather muted, I thought. And so this is for the Democrats now. This is the first time that they can really distract from a lot of the victories that Donald Trump has had. And so part of, I covered this extensively in the 5 o'clock hour, part of my coverage was, okay, so this seems like a legit oops. So let's admit that we shanked it and we got to move on because there's a lot of great things that Donald Trump is doing. And, of course, we all know yesterday the announcement from Hyundai that they are making a $20 billion investment in America, which includes $5 billion for a steel plant in Louisiana. Of course, part of this is, Hyundai, South Korea, wanting to avoid the tariffs that Donald Trump is placing. So on steel, 25%. So clearly these tariffs seem to be working.
Yeah, I think so. I think the tariffs are working, and just the messaging is working. Not only companies trying to avoid future tariffs, but the main message that Trump is putting out there is America is pro-business again, and we're welcoming businesses in here. And I think that message is resonating, throughout the world, and it's going to be good for us not only short-term, but certainly long-term as well, because once these companies put plants in here and things like that, those are long-term investments that will affect people's lives positively, that work there and economies around there for maybe a generation or so to come. So this is really great, but it really is Donald Trump we are pro-business. It's the messaging coming out of this administration. It's just similar to the messaging on the border, which has shut down the border. It's like, hey, we are pro-business. We're not going to tax you, regulate you, do all these things, DEI you to death. We're going to be supportive. We want you here. And the tariffs are, there's sort of a mixed bag on these tariffs, but a lot of it is, hey, if companies want to avoid it, that's good. That brings good jobs here. And also it's going to open up markets around the world for our companies, because other countries won't want to tariff our goods if they think it's going to be reciprocal. So I think ultimately all of this is great for the economy, and it's a win for Trump, and we'll see the results of the win probably in the future, but just knowing this is happening, I think it's going to give a lot of momentum for the economy, and also encourage other companies to come here as well, or grow here as well.
Jonathan Fahey joining us. Jonathan, I don't know if you've seen this, but Aaron sent this to me. FEMA fraud explodes. 270,000 claims filed for just 13,000 homes destroyed in those Los Angeles fires. This is over 20 times the number of homes destroyed in the recent LA fires. This is being reported by Breitbart. Rampant fraud and identity theft plague the system, looking out for locking out real victims as scammers hijack names and addresses for the payouts. And so there's a lot of fraud going on, and you have these scammers, and apparently, that's what they're doing. They're stealing the identity of actual victims, and they're trying to get paid for it. And apparently they've found them to the tune of, I'm sure, billions of dollars. But, this is just really sad. And this is just the kind of thing that Donald Trump is trying to stop in his administration.
Yeah, it really is. When you really see the amount of fraud, and I know that this is sort of a thing people have talked about for years, get rid of waste, fraud, and abuse, and no one does it. But if you really hone in on this and really put in safeguards to prevent it, which isn't that hard. I mean, when you and I have to, get a loan or something like that, the banks have safeguards to make sure we are who we say we are. And, I'm sure some people could steal money, but it's pretty hard. So our government shouldn't be any easier to steal money from than other types of things. So hopefully this type of thing, the fact that people are getting caught, hopefully that means it will deter others. But I do think, Elon Musk and some of the stuff he's doing is really, zeroing in on this, because hey, if we're going to spend money, it needs to be spent for what it's supposed to be spent for, which is to help people that need the help. And then it shouldn't just be a slush fund. But I have always got the impression whenever there's these disasters, there's always this sort of lackadaisicalness about monitoring the money. And you don't want to make it too strict for somebody that just lost their home to not be able to get money or have to go through a bunch of red tape. But there's got to be a middle ground to make sure they can efficiently get the money without just dumping it in the hands of fraudsters. Because even when they catch them, the sad thing about it is you rarely recover the money. It's usually spent or hard to get your hands on. So hopefully, this won't happen again. They'll catch the people and deter it, and also implement safeguards to ensure, this doesn't continue more in the future.
Jonathan Fahey is joining us. Jonathan, I got to take a quick look at the traffic, but coming up, you've got Judge Boasberg, and he's trying to interfere with the deporting of these Venezuelans, and he's been asking for information that the White House says that he's not privy to. We're going to get into that part of the story coming up. 6:45, time to check the roads on WTN. .645 on Nashville's Morning News. Your weather today, it's going to be really nice, a high of 73 and mostly sunny. Jonathan Fahey. So, Jonathan, Judge Boasberg, of course, this is the guy that is putting politics over, in my opinion, America's security, and he's trying to stop Donald Trump from deporting these gangbanger illegal aliens and these Venezuelans and so forth. Well, now, a couple of things have happened since the last time you and I spoke, Jonathan. Number one is Venezuela has now decided they will start taking some of their bad guys back. That is new. But number two, you've got Boasberg, and he is basically, he and the left are accusing Donald Trump of deporting Venezuelan gangbangers, and they're saying that not all of these guys were or are gangbangers. And Boasberg wants a bunch of information on this and information, national security information, apparently, that he's not actually privy to. So how do you think this whole thing is going, this war between Judge Boasberg and the Trump administration? Trump, of course, wants him gone. He wants him impeached.
Well, I think this is ultimately going in Trump's favor in a couple of ways. One, on the deportation, it's sending the message that, to the rest of the people that maybe want to come here or that are here illegally committing crimes, that, hey, they're going to catch you and they're going to deport you and they're going to do so swiftly. So that messaging is great. It's also political messaging is good because the Democrats are fighting tooth and nail to keep gang members in the country, and everyone's seeing that. So that's also a good thing. But it is interesting with this judge because, the whole purpose of this Alien Enemies Act was for the executive branch, meaning the president, to be able to remove people without going through judicial review. And this judge wants to essentially inject the judiciary into the process, saying, he's, I think, saying essentially, you may be able to do this, but we have to give permission for each alien you remove, which is the exact opposite of what this whole act is. So I think the Trump administration ultimately is going to win in court. I don't think, at the lower levels, but certainly at the higher level, because the courts give discretion making these national security decisions to the executive branch. It's not, a judge doesn't get to decide what a predatory incursion is or how we identify people in this. That solely should be in the executive branch. And I think a lot of these things, not wanting to turn over information to the judge, under this, I think it's like a state secrets type of privilege or something like that, is, the executive branch should protect these privileges going forward or they erode in the future. So this is basically the administration, at least my understanding of it is, hey, it's none of your business how we made these determinations. It shouldn't be your business. Your business is being a judge, and certain areas you don't get to weigh in on, and this is one of them. So I think ultimately in the courts, Trump wins, but not now. Maybe, either the Court of Appeals or ultimately the Supreme Court. But public opinion and politically, I think this is a win for President Trump because, again, the Democrats always seem, not always, but so many of these 80-20 issues seem to be on the 20 side and digging in hard on the 20 side. They look a lot better saying, hey, we want to help you deport gang members, but they certainly, every chance they get, they want to keep the most serious criminals in the country, which we saw under Mayorkas, which was let everyone in and no one gets kicked out.
Yeah. Real quick, last one. Headline, FBI launches task force targeting anti-Tesla domestic terrorism. So you have people on the left that are like, it's not domestic terrorism, it's just vandalism. Well, conservatives, we understand what they're trying to do. These, anti-Tesla terrorists is they're trying to intimidate people to sell their Teslas, get rid of their Teslas. They're trying to terrorize people into not buying Teslas, among other things. So how much success do you think the FBI is going to have in finding these degenerates?
I think they'll be successful because I think almost any crime, if enough effort is put into investigating it, you could solve almost any crime. But I think what people, the left is trying to make it seem like, these are people just keying cars or things like that. But a lot of these are arsons, which is already a federal offense that carries a 5-year mandatory minimum. And as you know, or anyone knows, arson is a very serious, serious crime. You may try to light one car on fire, and next thing you know, the whole block burns down and people die. That type of thing can certainly happen. So these are serious crimes, and it is terrorism because they are committing, violence, acts of violence, threats of violence for the purpose of achieving political ends, which is that really is the definition of terrorism, or at least one of them. And it's so I think this they will be successful, and people shouldn't have to be afraid when they drive their car that somebody's going to attack them, or park it in a parking lot that somebody's going to burn it, or if you work at a Tesla dealership, somebody like burn down your building while you're just trying to earn a living for your family. So it is really serious. I cannot believe the left is not, at least the people that pretend to be the responsible people, are not stepping up and saying it more loudly, like, enough's enough. They
won't even, Jonathan, they won't even condemn it.
No, it's BLM 2.0. Remember that? I mean, they were burning down cities and celebrating it. In D.C., we had the street was called BLM Plaza or something to celebrate people that assaulted police officers. So, yeah, the left, it's really pathetic, and it shows how extreme they are. I mean, there's this battle within the Democratic Party, supposedly, but there really isn't, because it is a far left party, and everyone, as you see on TV or Twitter or anything else lately, the only people that really have a voice in the party are the far left, and if there were any moderates, they've been silenced or pushed out long ago.
Yep, you just described Jasmine Crockett to a T, and I'm going to talk about her coming up in the next hour on Nashville's Morning News. Jonathan Fahey, how can people find you on X?
John for Fairfax, JONFORFAIRFAX.
All right, John for Fairfax on X. Jonathan Fahey, always great to have you on. It is 6:51, and Joan Jones has the news coming up at 7. Joan.
The House is going after rogue judges. There's a vote scheduled in D.C. next week. We've got that story and more coming up here at 7 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Joan. Dan Mandis here, and America is full of gun stores, but here in Middle Tennessee, my home for all things two-way is the Glock store. Whether it is training, buying, or upgrading, you can always count on the Glock store. Now, one of the reasons why Glocks are the most popular handgun in America is that there's so many custom and performance parts. I mean, listen to this. You've got night sights and competition triggers and red dot optics. There's so many ways to upgrade your firearm. I've done all three of these, by the way. They can do it, and you can do it at the Glock store for free while you wait. There's always a gunsmith on duty, and yes, you heard that right. You buy the parts. They will install them for free while you wait. Two great websites affiliated with the Glock store, shoot270.com and glockstore.com. By the way, their open house. You know what happens at the Glock store and their open house, right? They've got all kinds of great giveaways. They got all kinds of great things on sale as well. You want to go to the Glock store's open house. It is going to happen on Saturday, May 31st. Check out all the info, shoot270.com and glockstore.com. 6:57, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So Trump held a cabinet meeting yesterday, and Elon Musk was there. I want to play some audio for you. This is Elon Musk, and it is in the cabinet meeting yesterday. And he started talking about all of the waste, fraud, and abuse that he has found and Doge has found within the Small Business Administration. Listen to this. This is Elon Musk, and he's talking about the waste and fraud within the Small Business Administration.
They were handing out loans, $330 million worth of loans to people under the age of 11. I think the youngest, Kelly, was a 9-month-old who got a $100,000 loan. That's a very precocious baby we're talking about here.
Well, we're tackling the fraud, waste, and abuse in the agency. We've seen, hundreds of billions of dollars of fraud go unprosecuted, so we're taking that on. We have a zero-tolerance policy for fraud.
Yeah, that is Kelly, I think Loeffler, whatever it is, but she is in charge of the Small Business Administration for Donald Trump.
And we continue to crack down on it and make sure people are held accountable.
It's a pure fraud. We like to use the words waste and abuse because they sort of sound good, but many of these things are pure fraud.
So there you go. Elon Musk strikes again. Doge strikes again. I like what Dana White, of course, he's the owner of UFC. He was on with Tucker Carlson yesterday, and I kind of like what he said. Y'all, some of you may not agree with this, but I like what Dana White says about Elon Musk.
Elon was a superhero through this whole...
That's for sure.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Where are we right now without Elon Musk? What he did was incredible. And
why do you think he did it?
Because I think he's smart, and I think I think that something about him is fearless. I mean, he is literally a superhero in this country right now, as far as I'm concerned.
And as far as a lot of Americans are concerned, it's funny, Dana White said, where would we be without Elon Musk? And I can tell you where the 2 astronauts would be without Elon Musk. They would still be up in space. So I'll just say it. Thank the Lord for Elon Musk. He is a superhero. It is 7 o'clock, and he's making a lot of sacrifices. It is 7 o'clock on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning, 7 o'clock now. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. Democrats in Congress calling for an investigation into why senior Trump administration officials were discussing war plans on the commercial messaging app Signal and how a reporter was invited into that chat. House Speaker Mike Johnson.
The administration is addressing what happened. Apparently, an inadvertent phone number made it onto that thread. They're going to track that down and make sure that it doesn't happen again. What you did see, though, I think, was top-level officials doing their job, doing it well.
The White House confirms the chat appears to be real and says it's investigating how the mistaken invitation was sent out. The reporter says he was accidentally invited by National Security Advisor Mike Waltz. The House is expected to vote next week on a bill that would stem the tide of federal judges issuing nationwide injunctions against President Trump's agenda. House Speaker Mike Johnson says that the impeaching judges is not off the table here. The so-called No Rogue Rulings Act passed out of the House Judiciary Committee earlier this month. A federal appeals judge in Washington said the United States treated alleged Nazis better during World War II than the Trump administration treated Venezuelan illegal migrants last week.
A stunning accusation from federal judge Patricia Millett.
Nazis got better treatment under the Alien Enemy Act.
Grilling a Trump administration lawyer, demanding to know why hundreds of Venezuelans were deported to an El Salvador prison without any due process.
Well, Your Honor, we certainly dispute the Nazi analogy.
The administration's lawyer pushing back on Judge Millett's assertion that Germans deported during World War II under the same Alien Enemies Act used today got better treatment, arguing that President Trump was exercising core presidential powers.
ABC News senior national correspondent Terry Moran. In East Nashville, utility boxes and sidewalks have been tagged with graffiti, including Punch a Nazi and Expletive Nazi. This East Nashville resident spoke to Channel 4.
I understand the idea of wanting to make a statement. However, I do think that it's being made in a way that kind of doing a disservice to the statement that you're making, I feel like.
Now, the graffiti comes as leftists accuse Republicans of being Nazis over the efforts of the Trump administration to eliminate waste, fraud, and abuse in the federal government. Market Numbers Report brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com. Looks like stocks are going to add to the gains yesterday. Dow futures are up 42. NASDAQ futures gaining 29. S&P futures are above by 10 points now. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News. Well, it's a crash this morning on Ashland City Highway, the eastbound side. This is Davidson County at Jenny Brown Lane East. And then Goodlettsville, Vietnam Veterans Boulevard, the westbound off-ramp to southbound I-65. The off-ramp left lane is blocked off by a crash. And Mount Juliet 40, the westbound side at Wilson-Davidson County line. There's a vehicle on fire right there, and the right lane is blocked off by it. Traffic is traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.705 Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. How are you? Hey, coming up, we've got some great audio from America's treasurer, Jasmine Crockett. We'll talk about her and basically what's going on with the Democrat Party that is coming up straight ahead. A lot of people, though, asking me to recap what is going on with this whole Signal app controversy. Joan's been covering it in the news as well. And basically what happened is members of the Trump administration, his national security team, and so forth, Vice President J.D. Vance was on this text thread as well. And inadvertently, Mike Waltz, national security advisor to Donald Trump, inadvertently put a journalist onto this text thread. You ever have like a text thread going where you've got 8, 9, 10 people, and everybody is just texting back and forth in a group text, and somebody inadvertently includes someone else? Well, that's what happened to the Trump administration when President Trump and his administration, they were getting ready to bomb the crap out of the Houthi rebels. But not only did they place a journalist inside of this text thread, but it was one of the most hated journalists in conservative circles. Journalist Jeffrey Goldberg was somehow accidentally added to this, I'm air quoting, top secret group text revealing Donald Trump's war plans. Now, if you don't know who Jeffrey Goldberg is, he is the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic, a notoriously anti-Donald Trump magazine. And so he came out, and this was Monday, yesterday, after we got off the show, and he made the jaw-dropping allegation, they say, where he found himself added to a conversation on Signal, an encrypted messaging app. This is how the Associated Press puts it. National Security Advisor Mike Waltz started the chat, which included users identified as Vice President J.D. Vance, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, DNI Tulsi Gabbard, a CIA representative, Donald Trump advisor Stephen Miller, and White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles. Now, everyone is trying to figure out exactly what happened. But Secretary of State Pete Hegseth, he was asked about this yesterday, and he has this to say.
You're talking about a deceitful and highly discredited so-called journalist who's made a profession of peddling hoaxes time and time again, to include the hoaxes of Russia, or the fine people on both sides hoax, or suckers and losers hoax. So this is the guy that peddles in garbage. This is what he does. I would love to comment on the Houthi campaign.
I mean, so Pete is correct. Pete Hegseth is correct. Goldberg is the guy that started the whole Donald Trump called dead military veterans suckers and losers hoax. One of many that he's been involved in. And so how it is that National Security Advisor Mike Waltz accidentally included him in this text thread, which, by the way, nobody is saying this did not happen. I don't think anybody has actually said, no, he's lying. By the way, Goldberg also reported that Donald Trump wanted the kind of generals that Hitler had. So in other words, Goldberg and the Atlantic, they just, as Hegseth said, they wallow in the anti-Trump, Trump derangement syndrome crowd. And so wouldn't it be the Trump administration's luck that they accidentally put this guy on a group text? So part of what's going on is that Democrats see an opening to take the focus off of their own disasters and go after Donald Trump. CNN is on here in the studio, and they have been leading with this and talking about this 3, 4, 5 panel conversations. And this is their opening to say, let's take the spotlight off of us and our own dysfunction and our own disasters and go after Donald Trump. And that's what's going on. They're going to focus on Trump and not focus on their own civil war, their own low approval ratings. And so Goldberg was on last night. Pete Hegseth made that comment yesterday afternoon as all of this was breaking. Pete Hegseth made his comment, and so they played it for Goldberg, who was on CNN, and this is what he actually said.
Nobody was texting war plans. Given you were privy to this group chat, is that how you saw it?
No, that's a lie. He was texting war plans. He was texting attack plans. When targets were going to be targeted, how they were going to be targeted, who was at the targets, when the next sequence of attacks were happening. I didn't publish this, and I continue not to publish it because it felt like it was too confidential, too technical, and I worry, honestly, that sharing that kind of information in public could endanger American military personnel. But no, they were plans for the attack. They were texted before the attack.
Yeah, so basically his story is that, and as you just heard, Goldberg, and I'm no fan of Goldberg, trust me, but he says, yeah, like they were talking about how we're going to have this attack. It's going to start at whatever time, and 90 minutes, 2 hours later, the attack actually started at that time. So he is watching in real time with all of these folks from the Trump administration, the planning for this attack. Now, some people are saying that what was discussed in this thread was not top secret information. I don't know, because I haven't seen the information that Goldberg is not posting, is not reporting on, because he says, no, you know what? Some of this stuff, had I printed it, had I posted it, had I reported it, it would have caused a serious national security concern, and it would have put the lives of our soldiers at risk. But no one has come out from the Trump administration and definitively denied that that didn't happen. Now, for Mike Waltz, again, he's the one who accidentally put Goldberg on the chat initially. Again, as I've been telling you, Goldberg is public enemy number one against Trump. Some people are saying there is no way that this was an accident, that Goldberg, you know, he's part of the deep state. He's got ties inside Donald Trump's White House. He's got ties in the intelligence community as well. And somehow he managed to get inside this text thread on Signal of Trump administration officials. Now, I don't know. What I do know is that stuff happens.
And there were things texted that you viewed as so sensitive, you did not even publish them in your report today.
I made the decision that the technical aspects of this, including what kinds of weapons packages, the attack sequencing, and so on, that's not necessarily in the public interest. What's in the public interest is that they were running a war plan on a messaging app and didn't even know who was invited into the conversation. I mean, it's an obvious, ridiculous security breach. And, you know, he if you notice, he didn't actually answer the question.
All right, so here's my question. If Jeffrey Goldberg was accidentally put on this, how did that actually happen? Was there another person whose name started with a J that was supposed to be included and was not? Instead, he put in Jeffrey Goldberg. Now, Joan was telling me earlier the Daily Wire was reporting that there is, I guess, someone that works in the Trump administration that is a negotiator.
Right, a trade negotiator, Jamison Greer, may have been the one that this is from the Daily Wire, that they had intended to add because both of their names, their initials are JG.
Mm-hmm.
So although nobody's talking about that at this point, who they intended to add, if that's what happened, but that's a possibility, certainly.
All right, very good. Donald Trump's reaction to all of this, you've got to hear it because this is, to me, a very big part of the story as well. It is 7:15. Time to check the roads on WTN. .15, Nashville's Morning News. As far as your weather for today, a high of 73, mostly sunny, now 57 degrees at Super Talk 99.7. Now, other people on the Super Text line, which is exploding right now, why does Mike Waltz have Jeffrey Goldberg's number in his phone? I think that when you're in Washington, D.C. long enough, there are phone numbers and you save phone numbers. I don't necessarily believe that that implicates Mike Waltz. The big question is, should Mike Waltz actually be fired? And that is where this conversation is going. That is, by the way, the official Daily Dan poll this morning. Should Mike Waltz be fired, Trump National Security Advisor, after he accidentally put Jeffrey Goldberg on this group text via Signal? And so if you want to watch us on YouTube, like and subscribe to the channel, watch us every single morning, and take the Daily Dan poll. I'm genuinely curious as to where those numbers are because earlier it was really close. And so we'll get the final numbers for this segment coming up on WTN. But Goldberg, listen, a couple of things can be true. He can be a discredited wannabe journalist. He can be a hack. He's really just a narrative peddler for the left. And everyone acknowledges that this guy is clearly an anti-Trump zealot. And yes, as two things can happen, they can also accidentally include this guy on these chats.
I thought it was a hoax. I thought somebody was trying to entrap me. Again, could it have been a foreign intelligence service? Could it have been a gadfly organization that tries to entrap journalists, which we know happens? I didn't know what it was or who it was. But what I did know was that the obvious answer was that this is a real conversation of the national security leadership of the United States. Seemed improbable to me because why would they do it on Signal? Why would they do this on a messaging app? And why would they invite the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic to watch?
All right, so a couple of things. Number one, I actually, this was interesting to answer Goldberg's question. Why Signal? A guy sent me a note. He was in the military. This was on the super text line. He sent me a note, and you know what he said? He said in the military, they actually are told to use Signal because it is the most secure app that is out there. Now, I didn't know that because I don't play around in these kinds of apps, but I didn't know that. So if that is the case, well, then that's why they were using Signal, because the government apparently does use Signal because it is secure. Unfortunately, it's not secure from our own stupid mistakes, which is exactly what it sounds like to me what happened with Mike Waltz. A couple of things in reading the chats. J.D. Vance was against the president on this attack on the Houthis, but he was also willing to show a united front. J.D. Vance, among other things, tired of bailing out Europe. People within the world of intelligence, by the way, say that it wasn't good that Goldberg was included on the group text, but the information wasn't actually top secret intelligence, just a discussion of plans. President Trump, here's a big issue, and I'm going to tell you, this is, at least to me, even a bigger issue than the original mistake. President Trump was asked about this, and apparently he was just finding out for the first time in front of the media. Somebody didn't prepare the president for what was most certainly going to be asked of him, which was to comment on this breaking story at the time. It had already been out for a couple of hours when all of this came down.
I don't know anything about it. I'm not a big fan of The Atlantic. To me, it's a magazine that's going out of business. I think it's not much of a magazine, but I know nothing about it. You're saying that they had what?
They were using Signal to coordinate on sensitive materials and
Having to do with what? Having to do with what? What were they talking about?
With the Houthis.
The Houthis? You mean the attack on the Houthis? Right. Well, it couldn't have been very effective because the attack was very effective. I can tell you that. I don't know anything about it. You're telling me about it for the first time.
So obviously there's a few things. Number one, Trump will no doubt have some discussions about alerting him when something is going on. Now, if you paid attention to Donald Trump's day yesterday, he had meetings, he had a cabinet meeting, he had a big a news conference with Hyundai in South Korea as they're making a big investment here in America. So he had a lot of stuff that was going on. And so maybe they weren't able to pull him aside and say, hey, this is what's going on. Now, the poll question, subscribe, like us, YouTube, watch us every day, is should National Security Advisor Mike Waltz be fired because he is the one that accidentally put Jeffrey Goldberg from The Atlantic on this text thread? That is the question of the day. And KGB, what are people saying?
Right now, 57% say yes, he should be fired. So it actually moved. It was no at the beginning, but now it's moved up to yes.
So a lot of folks, listen, Donald Trump has always talked about accountability. And as conservatives, we're supposed to hold each other accountable. And remember, one of the things that we often said was Joe Biden never holds anybody accountable. That being said, the question is, what will Donald Trump do? He's been very complimentary of Mike Waltz, very complimentary of Mike Waltz. And so part of the question, and he's been right in there with Israel and Hamas and all of those negotiations. He has done a lot for the Trump administration. And I will tell you, and I'm not advocating for Waltz not to be fired, but I'm going to tell you that sometimes if you've got a really good employee, and listen, I managed people for, I think, about 25, 30 years. So I'm telling you from experience, sometimes good people make mistakes. Some are more catastrophic than others. This was a simple mistake. It was a careless mistake. But does that tarnish, does that destroy all of the good that Mike Waltz did? Now, if there's other issues that are going on behind the scenes, then yeah, maybe you crap can him. But sometimes people just make mistakes. Sometimes people's, BS to results ratio, which is what I've called it, is way off the charts, and there's way too much BS for the level of performance you're getting from said employee, those employees need to be fired. Now, Donald Trump has said through Caroline Leavitt that he does remain confident that Mike Waltz is doing a good job. He does have confidence in Mike Waltz. We'll have to see ultimately where this goes. What I would not want to see is Trump make a decision, and I don't think that he will, but see Trump make a decision on Waltz to pacify the media that is absolutely unhinged on this story. 723 on Super Talk 99.7. Joan Jones in the WTN newsroom. Hey, Joan.
Hey, Dan. In East Nashville, graffiti is making headlines. We'll tell you what the graffiti says and what the response is to it. That's coming up here at 7:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
America's treasure, Jasmine Crockett. A big conversation regarding her coming up at 7:35 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Guys, if you're feeling tired, motivation just isn't there, maybe some weight gain and muscle loss, these could all be signs of low testosterone. It is time that you found out for sure with my friends at the Low T Center. Now, they make it easy to get your levels checked. It is just a simple test, and with their on-site lab, you'll get your results back immediately. One of many reasons why you ought to go to the Low T Center. Now, this isn't your typical doctor's office. They simply specialize in treating low T with testosterone replacement therapy, or TRT, for each individual patient. Now, they've been helping patients for over a decade, and their treatment plans are optimized for each individual patient, personalized just for you. There's nothing standard about Low T Center. Everything is customized. By the way, for current patients, Low T Center offers you a $150 referral credit for each new patient that you refer. Now, at Low T Center, you can also get your health evaluated for treatment with prescription GLP-1 weight loss medications. So get back to your best. Go to lowtcenter.com to book your appointment today. That's lowtcenter.com. Low T Center, reinventing men's health care. .726 on WTN. Dan Matt is here. Spring and summer are upon us, friends. What big events do you have planned? Whether it's a big corporate event, maybe a family reunion, maybe a wedding, maybe a graduation ceremony, maybe an Easter thing going on, maybe a birthday party. Whatever your event, Nashville Tent and Awning, they can help you with an incredible enclosure that can be installed anywhere. Now, they've been around since 1884. These folks are a Nashville institution, and they've worked with the likes of the Titans, Vanderbilt, and yes, the Grand Ole Opry as well. Now, they are one of the top companies in Nashville. Think about your backyard. You can actually extend your living space with a backyard enclosure, so you can enjoy it even when it gets really hot here in the next couple of months. Now, if you do have an event, maybe for work coming up, they can also help you there as well with a tent or an enclosure, and they've got awnings for any style of building that will improve the look and feel of your home or office. Get some visuals today. Check them out online. Their website, ntaco.com. I like to call it ntaco, ntaco.com. 615-329-3701, 615-329-3701. Tell them Dan told you to reach out. Solid craftsmanship and built to last since 1884. Nashville Tent and Awning.
Good morning. It's 7:30. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. Heading in on 40 this morning, watch out. There's a stalled out car that's blocking the right shoulder right on 40 westbound at Wilson-Davidson County line. Other news of the morning. In East Nashville, graffiti is making headlines. Here's WSMV's Jordan James on that.
Utility boxes across East Nashville have become defaced with disparaging remarks about Nazis, igniting concerns across the community.
It's definitely abrasive. It's written in bright red.
It's also what Camille Conrad now sees on her daily commute.
I would have to say that I agree with the sentiment, but I don't think that it necessarily needs to be broadcast.
Over the last week, it's been seen several times on utility boxes and underpasses. It's unknown who's responsible or when they were spray painted.
And police are asking residents to report any graffiti they see. Metro Nashville police arresting a man wanted in the shooting of another man who had been holding his two 7-year-old daughters outside a Nolensville Pike restaurant. 36-year-old Wykevian Forney of Laverne was charged with attempted murder and aggravated assault, among other charges. Kansas State Highway Patrol officers reported pulling over an SUV for a traffic violation and then arresting the passenger for an outstanding warrant on charges that he had kidnapped a girl several months ago. That's when they noticed a little girl in the back seat. Turns out that girl, who was 6 years old, had also been kidnapped. Kansas Highway Patrol reports that girl was unharmed and both men were taken into custody. That's the latest news. We've got traffic and weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Pick a Jones, 732 on Nashville's Morning News on WTN. Listen, friends, when I first started thinking about lens replacement to treat my cataracts, and by the way, they were horrible, I was really nervous. I had all kinds of concerns running through my head. Was it going to be painful? How long was the downtime? I've also heard a lot of myths like you'll still need your glasses or the results are not permanent. But during my consultation with Dr. Horn at Vision for Life, He took the time to answer all my questions. And yes, he did address all of those common myths. He did explain it is a quick 5-minute procedure. Most patients feel little to no discomfort, and recovery times are really fast. And many people, they permanently achieve near perfect vision without glasses. Now, my friends, I am at 20/20. 20/20 vision. I've never been happier. My only regret is that I didn't do this sooner. Now, if you have been thinking about getting your vision repaired, you've got to call my guy, Dr. Horn. He tailored a specific plan to my needs and my goals. He very patiently walked me through the lens options and how they could help me not just restore my vision, but also my quality of life. And he's been doing this for 20 years. We like to say 20 years of 20/20. Dr. Horn and Vision for Life. Call them, 615-436-2020. Tell them I told you to reach out. Very important. 615-436-2020. Find them online, visionforlife.com. $7:35, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Want to tell you about my friends at Stoltz Co. Listen, if you've got a piece of property, maybe a land that you don't know what to do with, check out my friends at Stoltz Co. They are the premier pole barn builders here in the state of Tennessee. You know that putting up a pole barn from Stoltz Co., it could increase the value of your land big time. You can use it as a garage, as an event space, equestrian building. You can live in it as well. We call those barn dominiums. Pole barns from Stoltz Co., they are not only flexible, but yes, they are built really well. You can also, by the way, plan ahead and build your retirement home. So call them today. Tell them Dan told you to reach out. 615-622-5992 for Stoltz Co. 615-622-5992. Tell them what you have in mind. Tell them how large of a parcel you have and what the dimensions of the property are, and they can tell you what you can do with that property, because there's a lot that you can do, but you've got to call Stoltz Co. 615-622-5992. Also check them out on Instagram and Facebook or at their website, STOLTZCO, stoltzco.com.
Got to watch it this morning on 840, the westbound lanes in Blackman, right at I-24. There's a tree down in the right lane. That's causing a lot of delay this morning. Also, a crash in Ashland City Highway eastbound at Jenny Brown Lane eastbound. Stop and go traffic from Old Hyde's Ferry Pike up to that point. And then Mount Juliet, it's a stalled out car, 40 westbound at the Wilson-Davidson County line. And stop and go traffic from Mount Juliet Road up to that point. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
$7:36, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to your friends. How are you? You can always email me, by the way, Dan at 997WTN.com. Follow me on the socials, if you would, on X and also Facebook at Dan Mandas Show. America's treasure, Jasmine Crockett, is at it again. And, you know, it's interesting. I'm going to play this audio bite for you where she is threatening Ted Cruz. And I want you to think about what would happen if the roles were reversed, if this was Ted Cruz talking about Jasmine Crockett.
But, like, it's Ted Cruz. I mean, like, this dude has to be knocked over the head, like, hard, right? Like, there is no niceties with him, like, at all. Like, you go clean off on him, right?
All right, so that is Jasmine Crockett talking about Ted Cruz and how someone has to knock him on the head. Now, if you don't know, go clean off is basically slang for, well, I had to look it up. Go clean off is a slang phrase that can have different meanings depending on the context, but it generally implies someone going all out, losing control, getting extremely excited or angry. It's often used to describe someone who's reacting intensely or extravagantly to a situation. So that is Jasmine Crockett, and she's calling for someone to go clean off on Ted Cruz.
But, like, it's Ted Cruz. I mean, like, this dude has to be knocked over the head, like, hard, right? Like, there is no niceties with him, like, at all. Like, you go clean off on him, right?
So, obviously, if Ted Cruz or someone else said this about Jasmine Crockett, cities would have to burn. We all know that's true. So all of this, of course, follows her statements that she wants to take down Elon Musk for her birthday. So we all know that's part of what she has said. She's making all of these comments, by the way, and we talked about this earlier, where she can easily say, what, me? I'm not actually calling for violence. No, that's not what I meant. She also said this.
I think that you punch. I think you punch. I think you're okay with you okay with punching.
So again, talking about
totally not violence.
No.
So in these three comments, she's talking about it's okay to punch. Somebody's got to knock Ted Cruz over the head, and who can forget she wants to take down Elon Musk. So the easy putt on this again is imagine if a conservative said this, especially about a female black member of Congress, right? Nobody seems to care that Maxine Waters has been saying this same exact thing for decades, and nobody cares. Along comes Jasmine Crockett, who allows the very permissive media and Washington, D.C. culture to allow this kind of angry, vile, hateful, violent rhetoric against politicians. If you're Jasmine Crockett, if you're Maxine Waters, well, then you get to do what you want, it would appear. But make no mistake, this is violent rhetoric. So here's the thing, is that she can very easily say, well, I wasn't talking about actual violence. No. What, me? No, I wasn't talking about violence. Well, Pam Bondi definitely disagrees.
Your words have consequences. And what happened after she said that about Elon Musk, she's a Texan in her own home state. After she said that, this morning, 3 explosive devices were found in Austin, Texas. So she needs to unequivocally denounce the violence. She must apologize immediately, not only to all Texans, but to our country, to the American shareholders of Tesla, because she is promoting violence.
Yeah, I mean, she is. Obviously, she's promoting violence, and the permissive culture of the media in Washington, D.C. is simply allowing her to do that. Now, again, I played you the audio, but the way that she does this gives her that plausible deniability. Listen.
I just want to say that I have never promoted violence whatsoever.
All right, so actually you have. We have the audio. I've just played you a couple of audio bites. But think about it this way. So when she says that she wanted Elon taken out, she can say, well, I meant that from a business standpoint. When it comes to Ted Cruz needs to be knocked over the head, she can say, well, I meant politically. I didn't mean that I wanted anyone to actually assault Ted Cruz. No, not me, not America's treasure, Jasmine Crockett. When it comes to it's okay to punch, she can say, well, I meant from the standpoint of being aggressive and going after what you want. So she can talk around it. She can dance around the fact that she is using violent, repulsive rhetoric. And she keeps doing this, speaking with these violent tones, but leaving herself enough room to say, what, me? That's what she's doing. I mean, she is clearly and obviously advocating for violence. I mean, obviously. And if the media is too chicken crap to call her out on it, well, then I will. Conservative talk radio will, and we'll be called racist. But that's okay. But people are listening to her, and that's the thing. Pam Bondi is absolutely right. People are listening to her. And that's why you've got all of these knuckle-dragging fools trying to take out Teslas, trying to shoot Teslas, harassing Tesla owners, these domestic terrorists. They're listening to the likes of Jasmine Crockett, where she is clearly advocating for violence. So yeah, to talk about Pam Bondi, these people that are listening to Jasmine Crockett, they are lemmings, and yeah, words do indeed have meaning. Here's more from Pam Bondi.
She does need to tread very carefully. We don't know what else she's saying, what else she's doing, but she needs to immediately apologize and denounce this, because even in her home state, violence is happening after she made these statements. It's dangerous. Yeah. She has to know it's dangerous, and she's calling for further insurrection on her birthday this weekend.
Yeah, we'll have to see. I don't know. Joan, do you have any big predictions as to what's going to happen next Saturday?
I'm sorry.
On her birthday, Jasmine Crockett?
I think it's pretty clear what we can expect next Saturday.
So what happened last Saturday, which really wasn't much, was kind of a warm-up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, well, now that you spend a week after the warm-up hearing from Jasmine Crockett and getting all riled up about it, I think it's pretty clear what'll happen. And I really hope that the Trump administration is paying attention.
Well, they're talking about, yes, and Pam Bondi said that Jasmine Crockett needs to be censured in Congress, which does absolutely nothing. Nobody cares. I mean, listen, she clearly enjoys the attention. By the way, Van Jones has been red-pilled. I've got that audio coming up. It is 7:45. Time to check the roads on WTN. All right, very good. Thank you. And it's 7:45. We've got your weather today, mostly sunny and a high of 73. Super Talk, 99.7 WTN. All right. So Van Jones, by the way, obviously Jasmine Crockett is enjoying the attention. Doesn't take a rocket scientist to call the Democrats out on their hypocrisy. Because, here they are. They've been just so obsessed with Donald Trump inciting riots. Remember the whole thing with January 6th? Ridiculous. But they've been obsessed with that and have been for years. I mean, they tried to impeach the president on all of this. Perfectly silent on Jasmine Crockett, in my opinion, advocating for violence. So now it does look like Tesla, I don't know how they're going to do today, but they actually rebounded a bit yesterday, which is awesome. We'll have to see where that goes. Remember also yesterday we were talking about the Tesla protests, and some of them called counter-protesters racists and rapists. Remember that whole thing? So the entire left, I don't know, man, they're just getting more and more vile. You know who understands that? Van Jones. Van Jones understands because, these folks, it would appear that they can't actually have a conversation. They're just going to call people, horrific names. But Van Jones, now you folks know who Van Jones is, right? Van Jones is, you know who Van Jones is, KGB? Okay.
I do.
So Van Jones is an operative for the left, but at times he actually shows a little bit of level-headedness. This is what he had to say where because we've all been talking about how the Democrats, they've had a lot of issues. I mean, why are the Democrats unpopular? Because more of them are like Jasmine Crockett and Maxine Waters. And that's going to be a problem for the Democrat Party because they keep using this violent language, which I don't believe the American people like. And Van Jones actually agrees.
If progressives have a politics that says all white people are racist, all men are toxic, and all billionaires are evil, it's kind of hard to keep them on your side. And so we might want to think about, if you're chasing people out of the party, you can't be mad when they leave. And maybe if we had a different politics, we actually said dignity for everybody, everybody's respected, and we need you, more people might stay.
There you go. And he actually got some applause. Realize that one of the reasons why the Democrats are so angry with Elon Musk is because he used to be a Democrat. But I think that is what's going on with Jasmine Crockett. And that's what's going on with the party, is this nasty vitriol that is coming from their party. People just don't like it. I mean, that's what's going on. They're polling so low because people want some sanity, and there's not anything sanity that is going on right now, not anything going on sane in their party. They're just bizarre on so many levels. You know, they push out people, as Van Jones just said, they push out people who they don't 100% agree with. They physically attack. They politically attack as well. And then they go out and they sing these silly songs and they make their silly dancing videos. And if anyone in their own party says, you know, we really need to stop the stupidity, those people get canceled. So that's what's going on with the left. And I believe they should continue on. I mean, you know what, Democrats? You be you, and you keep eating your own, and you let Jasmine Crockett continue to run her mouth. And when somebody actually does get firebombed, when somebody actually does get killed, then all you got to do is look at Jasmine Crockett and the very permissive Democrat Party and the Washington, D.C. media and elite for not coming down on somebody who is clearly advocating for violence. It is 7:50 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Real quick, the Daily Dan poll. Watch us on YouTube. You can like and subscribe to the channel. We're here every morning, Monday through Friday, 5 to 9. And to take the Daily Dan poll. Today's poll, Trump National Security Advisor Mike Waltz, should he be fired because he accidentally allowed that Trump-hating journalist into that text thread, that group text, as they were talking about and planning for the strike against the Houthi rebels. And what are the numbers right now, KGB?
Staying steady, 56% yes to a 44% no.
All right. It is 7:51 on Nashville's Morning News. And Joan Jones is here with the newscast coming up at 8. Joan, what do we got?
Well, Tennessee lawmakers are sending a signal to churches and homeless shelters. They don't want them to harbor illegal aliens. Also, a Nashville restaurant closes its doors for good. That and more coming up here at 8 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Think of Jones, 7:51 on Nashville's Morning News. What could you do with an extra $75,000 right now? Maybe even a couple $100,000. Now, if you own a home, you can get that money in less than a week with Loan Pronto. Dan Matt is here now. Loan Pronto is the leader in quickly converting your home equity into cold hard cash. So you can pay off all your credit cards or you can start that home remodel. Loan Pronto has several easy options for you to choose from to let you access the cash from your home. There's virtually no paperwork, no cumbersome process, no junk fees, and oftentimes no appraisal. The average homeowner here in Middle Tennessee right now has over $300,000 in equity. That is your money. You need to use it. Now, one of their clients got $150,000 out, paid off all their credit cards, a couple of car loans, and a personal loan as well, cutting their monthly expenses by $1,500. Now, you, my friends, can get approved in as little as 1 day, so act right now with no hard credit pull up front. LoanPronto.com is the website, 615-499-5780, 615-499-5780, and get the money you need for anything. Find them online at loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval. NMLSconsumeraccess.org. $7:54 Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7. Dan Meadows here. Yes, make 2025 the year that you get active again with the Wellness Institute of Nashville. Listen, if you've been sidelined with chronic back, neck, and knee pain, check out my friends at the Wellness Institute of Nashville and Dr. Kevin Mitchell. Now, I have been a client for over 10 years. I've never felt better. Now, I arrived in Middle Tennessee over a decade ago, and I did go through spinal decompression therapy. I arrived in pain. These days, though, thanks to Dr. Mitchell, my chronic back pain is gone. Now, every once in a while, I need to have an adjustment, and Dr. Mitchell will fix me right up. And right now, a great deal going on from the Wellness Institute of Nashville. They're offering the Big 47 offer in honor of our 47th President of the United States. That is 47% off spinal decompression. That's right, 47% off spinal decompression. They utilize the latest high-tech equipment in their state-of-the-art facility to provide effective, non-surgical solutions. Call them 615-246-5009. Tell them Dan told you to reach out. Online, painisbad.com. 7:57, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Joan.
Yes.
You've got a story that I find particularly interesting.
Yes.
So there is a piece of legislation that is going through the state legislature, and what they want to do is they want to hold nonprofits accountable if an illegal alien that they are housing goes out and commits a crime.
Correct. Yep. Yeah. I mean, it's not a secret that a lot of the illegal aliens will come to the country and find refuge at a rescue mission or at a church that houses illegal immigrants, and they stay for a long time.
Yep.
And if they go out and commit a crime, well, the state is saying, hey, hang on. They found refuge with you. Why did you do that? It's illegal to house. We're not a sanctuary state.
Right.
So why did you house these people?
Interesting, because you know what the problem with that is that because this is one of those topics, and I'm going to take calls on this and see how people feel. The problem is that if you do that, then you run the risk of hurting these institutions that actually do great work for Nashville.
Yeah.
And I can talk about the Nashville Rescue Mission all day long, and they are quoted in the story. So if you go after the rescue mission, then all of a sudden, all their donations that they work so hard for, well, then are they going to be tied up in litigation? And now what's going to happen is all the people that are Nashvillians or they're American citizens and they need help, you're going to hurt the mission, the Nashville Rescue Mission, because they may not have the resources because they're too busy fending off this legislation and litigation.
Well, maybe they don't house illegal immigrants. They ask for identity before they house somebody for a while.
Yeah, and I think that's probably ultimately what the goal of the legislation is.
I think so, too.
I think that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to get them to do something about the illegal alien issue, and they're trying to be as unwelcoming, the state legislature, and this is a good thing. The state legislature is trying to be as unwelcoming as they possibly can to illegal aliens, and I think overall that is a good thing. Got a lot more straight ahead. It is Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning. Now 8 o'clock. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. A stalled out car still causing some big headaches this morning. The 40 westbound lanes at the Wilson-Davidson County line. It's the right shoulder is blocked off by that stalled out car. Big delay behind it. We'll have more on traffic and weather right after the news. An argument at an East Nashville gas station ended in a stabbing last night. Here's News 2's Peyton Kennedy.
Police say interviews and surveillance video show 60-year-old Daryl Lee Crook stabbed the male victim 3 times. Police broke up the situation and were told the victim was taken to the hospital with serious injuries. Arrest documents say the two knew each other and had a pre-existing feud.
And police say the knife was still in Crook's pocket when he was arrested. A Nashville restaurant with a 20-year run in the Gulch has closed its doors for good. Sambuca Nashville announced the closure on Facebook, saying, quote, "The lingering impacts of COVID and the rising cost of doing business have created a perfect storm that we could not weather." A new bill being considered in the state legislature would hold churches and homeless shelters responsible if an illegal alien staying there commits a crime. Sam Seipel at Nashville Rescue Mission tells Fox 17 that would be a mistake.
Our intent here is not to be a sanctuary city, but we are a sanctuary for folks who are looking to get off the dangers of the streets and get some help, get some hope, get some food, get some shelter. So our goal is, again, to help and provide human services. It's not to enforce immigration.
That bill is co-sponsored by Senator Brent Taylor and Representative Rusty Grills. The White House has acknowledged that an anti-Trump journalist was mistakenly added to a national security group chat in which top Trump officials discussed airstrikes in Yemen. The Atlantic editor-in-chief, Jeffrey Goldberg, said that others in the chat included Vice President J.D. Vance and Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth. President Trump seemed to have learned about it during a press conference when asked by a reporter. It had already been hours after that story was published, and that surprised Goldberg.
I would find it somewhat surprising that someone didn't tell the president right away that we've had an inadvertent security breach of pretty dramatic proportions.
The Daily Wire says it's possible that Waltz thought he was adding top Trump trade negotiator Jamieson Greer to the chat, since both Goldberg and Greer have the initials JG. Money News brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com. Ahead of the opening bell here, we've got things pointing up. Dow futures plus 87, NASDAQ futures up 42, S&P futures gaining 14. That's the latest news, traffic and weather up ahead. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News. Still working at stalled out car on 40 westbound at the Wilson-Davidson County line. It is stop and go from Mount Juliet Road, exit 226. And we're learning now that was a remnants of a vehicle fire. So a lot of folks have to look at it. Also this morning, Ashland City Highway eastbound side in Davidson County, right at Jenny Brown Lane. There is a crash and stop and go traffic behind it. Hermitage, Lebanon Pike, east of Central Pike, there's a crash. And another one this morning, East Nashville, Ellington Parkway southbound just before Spring Street. That one's causing some delay as well. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.806, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to your friends. Joni, a Heart fan? You know, the rock and roll band Heart?
Well, not anymore after I heard this.
So she apparently, Nancy Wilson, apparently said that she is embarrassed to be an American. The headline from the New York Post, Heart's Nancy Wilson slammed for saying it's more embarrassing than ever to be an American. The Barracuda singer, 71, made the controversial claim during an interview with the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel earlier this month, and it just hit the Twitter sphere, social media yesterday. And apparently, she says, we were kind of embarrassed at that time, way back in the 60s, to call ourselves American because of the dirty politics of the Vietnam War, she said while discussing the band's hit 1975 song, Crazy on You. She said it's, to be as subtle as possible, it is more embarrassing to be an American now, she says, than back then.
There are many other places she could go and not be embarrassed. She could join Rosie O'Donnell.
She could. She could go hang out with Rosie O'Donnell. She could go anywhere she wants. She's got a lot of money. Knock yourself out. But Wilson's remarks were not taken lightly, and both fans and critics slammed the wealthy singer for contentious comments about the country. You know, when people say stuff like, I don't understand what is embarrassing about being an American right now. Because I was more embarrassed to be an American, and I would never be embarrassed to be an American. I was embarrassed for our country because of how bad Joe Biden was, you know, falling asleep. He couldn't get through a sentence. He can't figure out how to get off of a stage. He was shaking hands with ghosts. So I was embarrassed about our president, but I'd never be embarrassed to be an American.
You forgot about when there was the rumors he pooped his pants in front of the Pope?
There was that one, too.
And that was believable. Yes. That might have happened for real.
Hashtag
Poopy Joe.
Hashtag President Poopy Pants. I think that's what I said.
It's just so awful.
Anyway, so people are, of course, laughing at her, scoffing at her. Says the millionaire who made tons of dough playing music. I just can't with these people right now, says one person. See, I actually don't have a problem with them expressing their opinion. I don't, but I would like a little bit more substance. Like, okay, use your words. Why is it that you're embarrassed to be an American? That's what I would want to know. Some people saying it's embarrassing to be a Heart fan right now. Yeah, I'm scrolling through this entire thread, this entire article, and I just don't see what it is that she's embarrassed about. You know, it's kind of like the people on the left, right? So oftentimes, and I think, didn't we talk about this week? Where it's like, okay, so what exactly is it that you're angry about with Elon Musk, for example? I mean, he stands for, or Donald Trump, for that matter. They stand for a government that is being held accountable, and he wants to get rid of, you know, illegal alien gang members. So tell me why exactly it is that you're upset. Oh, and by the way, Elon rescued the damn astronauts. Do you know what I mean? It is just the craziest thing in the world. Because, and I joked earlier, that those poor astronauts, they would still be up there if it wasn't for Elon Musk. If it was up to the people on the left, if it was up to the people on the left, those astronauts would still be up there. They would rather have the astronauts stuck in space forever than have Elon Musk rescue those two. It is just, so whether it's Rosie O'Donnell, whether it is George Clooney, whether it is now Nancy Wilson of Heart, what exactly is the problem? By the way, Donald Trump has a message for Nancy Wilson of Heart.
If you're not happy here, then you can leave. As far as I'm concerned, if you hate our country, if you're not happy here, you can leave. And that's what I say all the time. That's what I said in a tweet, which I guess some people think is controversial. A lot of people love it, by the way. A lot of people love it. But if you're not happy in the U.S., if you're complaining all the time, very simply, you can leave. You can leave right now. Come back if you want. Don't come back. It's okay, too. But if you're not happy, you can leave.
Bye-bye. And by the way, I don't know when he actually said that, but it kind of worked with the whole, Nancy Wilson thing. But I don't get it. And I for the life of me, I don't understand what their big issue is with, well, people say reason 9105, Trump derangement syndrome. Maybe being a Nancy is the new Karen. Oh, I like that 0557. Maybe being a Nancy is the new Karen. Yeah, Elon saved the NASA's butts, and that's what Lindsay says, and she's absolutely right. So I don't know. I think there's a certain unreasonableness that is going on right now. I'm embarrassed for the Democrats. I'm embarrassed that Jasmine Crockett is right now the Democrat that most people are paying attention to. Jasmine Crockett, for her nasty vitriol against people like Ted Cruz and Donald Trump and others, where her violent rhetoric is definitely getting her noticed, but no one is condemning her calls to action for people to attack Ted Cruz, which is the audio that I played in the previous hour, where in case you missed it, she's basically telling people that they need to go after Ted Cruz. And I got to tell you, the more that we hear from Jasmine Crockett, the better it is for Republicans. But this is what she said about Ted Cruz. If you missed it.
But, like, it's Ted Cruz. I mean, like, this dude has to be knocked over the head, like, hard, right? Like, there is no niceties with him, like, at all. Like, you go clean off on him, right?
Right. So, I mean, I think that if the media and the Democrats, if they wanted to condemn this stuff, the violence against Tesla, the death threats against Elon Musk, the calls for violence against Republicans like Jasmine Crockett is, if they wanted to condemn it, they would. But obviously, they're okay with this. And so while I would never be embarrassed to be an American, I'm embarrassed that this is the level of dialogue that's happening in our country. If you know a Democrat, I would ask them, do you stand by this kind of language? Do you stand by the burning of Teslas? Do you stand by the shooting of Teslas? Do you stand by the torching of charging stations? Is that what your party stands for? You see, people are saying, but I don't know how they do it, but people are saying that the Democrats basically need to start all over. I don't know how you do that. Because the only way that you can start over is by going more towards the middle. But the mainstream of the Democrat Party, too many of them are like Jasmine Crockett. That is now the mainstream. Jasmine Crockett is now the mainstream of the Democrat Party. So is AOC. So is Balloon Hair Bernie. All of them. They are the loudest and the proudest of Democrats. And so if you are a more moderate Democrat, where are you going to go? You and all your minions are going to go where? And here's the problem, that if you're a Democrat and you are more moderate or mainstream or what have you, okay, so you're going to go and you're going to do your own party, whatever it is, your brown bag generic Democrat party. And you're going to be more moderate. Where are you going to get the donors from? Because the donors, they stand by Jasmine Crockett. People who are donating to the Democrat Party, they are applauding and supporting someone like Jasmine Crockett. I was talking earlier. Remember earlier I was talking about who is your most hated American adversary, right? Because we've got, let's go down the list. You've got North Korea. You've got Venezuela. You've got Russia. You've got China. Who did I miss? I know I missed somebody. Iran. And a lot of people said that the adversary that they hate the most of America is the Democrat Party. And that's a great, great point. Because they're working to destroy our country from the inside. You expect these kinds of things from Iran. You expect these kinds of things from China. You expect these kinds of things from Venezuela. And sadly, now these days, you also expect these kinds of things out of the Democrat Party. So when we start talking about what is your most hated American adversary, I think the Democrat Party is doing more damage to America than your Iranians, your Russians, your China, all of these other nations. And they have the opportunity, the potential to do even far more damage if we don't keep them out of office. So I agree with a lot of you folks on the super text line when I was talking about this. I think I agree with you. My most hated American adversary would be the Democrat Party. It is 8:17. Time to check the roads on WTN. At 18, Nashville's Morning News. As far as your weather for today, March 25th of 2025, looks like we've got a nice day ahead. Weather 73 and mostly sunny. Right now, KGB, you said 58 degrees?
Correct, sir.
58 degrees at Super Talk, 99.7 WTN. Do you know what's interesting? So we're talking about George Clooney yesterday, and I'm just going to spend 2 seconds on this. But we're talking about George Clooney yesterday, and Joan, you and I were talking about it, as a matter of fact. I don't remember if Chris was involved in the conversation yet or not. But with George Clooney, so I don't have any interest in seeing any new George Clooney movie.
No.
He used to be my favorite actor. Here's my question. One of my favorites. Can you stomach old George Clooney movies that used to be sort of like, you know how you have your comfort movies?
Yeah.
I've got some, and I'm just going to tell you which one it is. There's two. One is The Descendants, which is a great George Clooney movie. And it is a comfort movie where, for me, it's like if I'm having a bad day or whatever, I can turn on The Descendants with George Clooney.
Yeah.
And it just makes me feel better. And so what's interesting is I have no interest in seeing anything new by George Clooney. And I'm now struggling with the loss. And another one is Up in the Air. With some of these older George Clooney movies that I used to like before I knew that he was a deranged anti-Trumper, anti-American.
Look, there's so many movies out there. I'm sure you can find some new ones.
Yeah, but then they keep opening their mouths. All these actors, they just keep talking. Now I can't listen to Hart.
Find a nice John Lovitz movie to be your...
Chris Pratt. Chris Pratt has some good movies.
Yeah, he's got some good ones.
Yeah, Chris Pratt is good.
Oh, Dennis Quaid.
Dennis Quaid is another one.
Any movie of his will be good.
Yeah.
The Rookie or the Ronald Reagan movie.
He was great.
Yeah.
I've already watched that like 3 times.
Yeah.
I could only watch them for so many different times.
I don't think has Dennis Quaid been in a bad movie? I don't think so.
I don't know.
He's good.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm a big Dennis Quaid. He's got a new one coming out. What's it called? Dennis Quaid has a new movie coming out, or maybe it's a series where I think he plays a serial killer. And the movie is about his daughter. KGB is in there Googling frantically.
Yeah, I was just going to, too.
Because you know what? When I watch Yellow Jackets, which is also a great movie, or another great show, something killer, Two-Face Killer, Bold-Face Killer.
So the only thing I can only imagine too is his next movie he's going to be in, which is a Christian biographical drama film.
I'll have to look it up. I'll have to. If Amy's listening,
there's
Amy
two
knows.
others, Sovereign and War Machine.
No, it's not. It's not none of those. Hopefully, Amy's listening and she'll tell me what the stupid movie is that her dementia-addled husband. Happy Face Killer. Thank you, Amy.
Must be a TV show. Yeah, Happy Face, 2025.
Amy Alexa?
You know what? Amy is my Alexa. She really is.
It's premiering on Paramount Plus. Oh, it happened 5 days ago.
There you go.
So, yeah.
Way
If
to
you
be
want to
timely.
get Paramount
KGB.
Plus, go
Good
for
job.
Happy Face.
Anyway, yeah, so that's another one that I'm going to watch because I like Dennis Quaid. He's awesome. All right, 821. Nashville's Morning News. Joan Jones is in the WTN newsroom. Hey, Joan.
So it appears the Covenant school shooting investigation is finally coming to a close. Also, a hate crime hoax has been busted in Pennsylvania. That and more coming up here at 8:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
What about Kevin Kline? Is Kevin Kline normal? Joan, do we know about Kevin Kline's politics? Like,
We don't. We can look
is
it up,
he
though.
insane? Because one of my all-time favorite movies that is like a comfort movie stars Kevin Kline.
Okay.
And I'm curious as to what. Let's do it at 8:35.
Okay.
We can cue the Hollywood hatred of Chris Hand. It's always fun to trigger. Hey, Chris, you want to review Snow White? Just let him fill like 15 minutes. Anyway, moving right along. Dan Matt is here. Sell your home with a guaranteed offer from Mark Spain Real Estate. Receive the strongest cash offer in the industry, and you're going to save time and make the most money. Dan Matt is here now with that guaranteed offer from Mark Spain Real Estate. You can skip the hassle of getting your home ready to sell. Receive an all-cash offer and close in as little as 21 days. There's no showings, no open houses, and no stress. Now, one of their client, Jerry, this is what he said. We needed to move quickly, and we were worried the process would be lengthy and that we'd have to spend a lot of money on repairs. But Mark Spain Real Estate got us an offer in just 3 days, and it was well over the asking price. It was amazing, says Jerry. And I say selling your home, it's a big decision, and who you work with matters. As the most experienced real estate team in the industry, you can trust my friends at Mark Spain Real Estate to sell your home fast and for maximum profit. Find out what your guaranteed cash offer would be. There's no obligation. 855-299-SOLD, 855-299-SOLD. You can always find them online. It is markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer on your home today and start packing. $8:25 on WTN. Friends, the spring season is upon us. Right now is the time to start thinking about your outdoor lawn equipment. At DT McCall's, like every single year, they're here for you with their Spring Cub Cadet Lawn Mowers sale. It is happening in Lebanon right now through March 29th, in Lafayette, April 4th through the 12th, and in Cookeville, April 18th through the 26th. You gotta love DT McCall's. Now, you should know by now that DT McCall's & Sons, they are ranked as a top Cub Cadet dealer here in America. Now, you can find Cub Cadet riding mowers with 42 to 72-inch decks for those larger areas, as well as Cub Cadet walk-behind mowers, too, for those smaller lots. All of this happening at DT McCall's. And by the way, when you purchase a Cub Cadet mower from DT McCall's, you're going to be getting access to their in-house service department as well. It is nearly impossible to find mower service anywhere else. With a large selection of Cub Cadet mowers, free delivery, and an in-house service department, it really is an easy choice. Friends, you need a new lawnmower? Go to DT McCall's, Carthage, Cookeville, Lebanon, Fayette, and Franklin. Always online, dtmccalls.com.
Good morning. It's now 8:30. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. Within the next couple of weeks, we'll finally hear from the Metro Nashville Police Department on the conclusion of its investigation into the Covenant school shooting. The Tennessee Star says investigators have spent 2 years poring over the 900 pages of the writings of the killer that was left behind. The 28-year-old Audrey Hale was a biological female who identified as a transgender man. She killed 3 students and 3 faculty members at the school where she once attended. As missiles continue flying over Israel and Gaza, the United Nations has made an announcement.
The Secretary General has taken the difficult decision to reduce the United Nations footprint in Gaza, even as humanitarian needs soar and our concern over the protection of civilians intensifies. We are not leaving Gaza. I repeat, the United Nations is not leaving Gaza. We remain committed to continuing to provide aid that civilians depend on for their survival and for their protection.
That's UN spokesperson Stefan Dujarric. The decision comes after an Israeli tank strike hit a UN compound, killing 1 staffer and wounding 5 others. A Pennsylvania woman arrested for staging a hate crime hoax. LaTarsha Brown is her name. She had been a City Hall employee for the city of Allentown, Pennsylvania. She called police in January to report a noose that was lying on her desk when she arrived at work. Well, after police asked for her DNA swab, Brown asked police to end the investigation. Eventually, they did match the DNA on the noose to Brown's DNA. She's been charged with 2 misdemeanor tampering and false reporting charges. Money News brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com. Dow Jones Industrial starting off the day higher. Not by much, though. The Dow is up 43. NASDAQ gaining 39 now. The S&P 500 index is plus 11 points. That's the latest news, traffic, and weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Thank you, Joan. 8:32, Nashville's Morning News on WTN. Friends, for over 50 years, Brentwood Jewelry has been proudly serving the Brentwood community with exceptional style and exceptional deals every single day. Now, this is a family-owned and operated business spanning 3 generations. And yes, they are deeply rooted in this community. From Salem's service in Special Forces to his son serving as local firefighters, the Imamali family is dedicated to giving back. In a time that is imperative to support local, you should shop at Brentwood Jewelry like I do. Now, this is the official jewelry company of myself and Amy. Whenever we need something, we always go to Brentwood Jewelry. And you walk into Brentwood Jewelry, and this is one of the things that I love about this store and this company and this family. You walk in, they've got American flags everywhere. And oftentimes, by the way, WTN is playing inside Brentwood Jewelry. This is a company that you need to go to if you need anything related to jewelry. 7012 Church Street East, located in the heart of Brentwood, just off Franklin Road. Exceptional style, exceptional deals every day for over 50 years. You can find them online anytime. BrentwoodJewelry.com. $8:34, Dan Mandis here. Now, every night at homework time, I thank the Lord for my friends at Xfinity Internet. Now, in my house, we can stay connected with Wi-Fi coverage that delivers the speed we need, and you can too. Now, you know that I do all kinds of fill-in nationally across the country and local markets as well, and I can rely on Xfinity for my rock-solid internet that I use to do all of those shows. Homework, our jobs, of course, Amy works from home as well. They don't wait for the internet to work. You need a reliable connection even when everyone is online and working I do rely on Xfinity. Again, I've been a customer for years. And by the way, if there are issues, Xfinity has 24/7 customer service here for you whenever you need them. And in-home Wi-Fi support. By the way, if you're on the go, you can stay connected with over 20 million secure Xfinity Wi-Fi hotspots nationwide. So get the best Wi-Fi for your life, whether it's doing homework with the kids or work for the paycheck. Rock-solid internet is only a phone call away with Xfinity. To get started, call them, tell them Dan told you to reach out. 1-800-XFINITY, online xfinity.com, or drop into an Xfinity store today for more details.
Looks like we still have some problems this morning. Ellington Parkway, southbound lanes before Spring Street. It's a crash that blocks off the right shoulder. Also in Avondale, West Trinity, east of I-65. Working a crash scene there, too. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
(8:36) Nashville's morning news on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hello. All right, so we have some breaking news, Joan.
What is that?
Chris is going to be late.
I thought I didn't see him around.
Something was going on 24, right? So he says, though, that
No, I have 24 as being smooth sailing the whole way. Nod, nod, wink, wink.
Did he say there was traffic?
Yeah, he sent me a text, and he basically said that he hates I-24.
Yeah.
So
there is something going on, and I reported on this before, between like Smyrna and Laverne area.
Okay. Also, I have a headline. By the way, very quickly, I asked about Kevin Kline.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
So one of my all-time favorite comfort movies, because we're talking about comfort movies, two of mine that I can no longer watch, George Clooney, and he's just rabid leftist. And so two of my favorite movies are The Descendants and also The Descendants and Up in the Air. And they're just movies that I like. And you know what the problem is? The problem is not that I'm taking a stand, right? Because people are like, well, Dan, you drink Starbucks coffee.
Oh, gosh.
So here's the thing, is that I'm not taking a stand. It's that I just no longer want to watch those movies because George Clooney has been incredibly disrespectful to Republicans and conservatives. So I just don't feel like I want to watch his movies anymore. When I walk into Starbucks, they're incredibly respectful to me. You know, when I walk into my Starbucks, do you know what they do? I kid you not, Joan. You know what they do?
What do they do?
Hey, Dan. They do.
See,
like 5 of them.
That's nice.
Everybody knows my name.
Oh, it's like
Cheers?
Cheers.
It's like Cheers.
Okay.
You walk in, hello, everybody, Dan!
It's like, hey, Dan, what's going on? My name on a Starbucks cup.
So I looked up.
I thought that was funny. Moving right along.
Sorry. I looked up Kevin Kline's political party. I can find nothing. And to be honest, that's encouraging to me. I don't want to know. I don't want to know.
I like that better than showing it.
Do your acting. Let me enjoy what you do. And shut up.
One of the greatest comfort movies ever, Life is a House.
Life is a House.
Starring Kevin Kline.
Okay.
I don't think it's a well-known movie, but it's a great movie that makes me cry. Every time. Every single time it makes me cry.
So you can't watch any more Robert De Niro movies either, can you?
To be perfectly honest, I was never a big fan of Robert De Niro. Like, I just, for whatever reason.
He's just in so much that you like.
And he opens his mouth so much.
Yeah.
I did like the
Ben Stiller now is
Ben Stiller movies. I did like him in those, what was it? The In-Laws or whatever that was?
Meet the
Fockers.
Yeah.
Meet the Fockers. Yeah, unfortunately, because those are great movies.
Those are funny.
But again, just so people know, I'm being consistent. How can you refuse to watch a Robert De Niro movie, but you'll go to Starbucks?
We went to a John Mellencamp show one time, and he went off on stage about politics. We wanted to walk out.
Yeah.
Shut up and just perform.
Why would you go
Bruce
to a John
Springsteen,
Mellencamp movie
same
knowing?
thing.
Why would you go to a John Mellencamp movie show knowing that he is like that?
Yeah. Same thing for Bruce Springsteen. I'm a Jersey girl. Now I can't even listen to him.
Yeah.
He wasn't that good to begin with.
But see, but here's the deal, is that I believe that though their movies no longer appeal to me, so it's easy for me to say, but Starbucks does still appeal to me. And by the way, they treat me very nice. I walked in one time and by the way, I don't know if I should say this.
Uh-oh.
But Chris just got here. Within my particular Starbucks, there's a couple of closeted Dan Mandis Show fans.
Ooh.
Yeah. I don't know if I want
outing them?
I don't want to out them. Would hate for them to get fired. By the way, this is breaking news. Hi, Chris.
I need Joan to define smooth sailing for me.
How was your drive? How's your day?
That was fake news.
Look
if
who
I've
decided
ever heard
to
fake
show
news.
up.
I don't often accuse Joan of fake news. But 24 was anything but smooth sailing, I can assure you.
You sure
Did you take
for good
pictures?
drivers.
You sure you didn't just want to sleep in and blame it on the traffic?
Oh, I'm sure.
On the traffic?
I'm sure.
I just
We can't,
quoted for
Dan,
traffic.
we can't pull that off when we have to get here.
Nope, sure can't.
Oh,
3
right?
a.m. is pretty smooth.
We have a responsibility.
It would take me about 35 minutes from Murfreesboro at 3 a.m.
Yeah, but I have to go to bed at 4, so.
Smooth sailing.
All right, real quick.
He's going to hold that against you the
Have you,
rest of the show.
have you ever seen the movie Life is a House?
Life is a house?
Yeah.
Life is a house or life as a house?
I can't get over the way he's saying house.
Yeah, I
Life
know. Where'd you
is
come
a
from?
house.
Life is a house.
Yes. Kevin Kline movie.
No.
It's a great movie.
Who's Kevin Kline?
He's an actor.
Calvin Klein's brother.
And the
I
movie,
know Calvin.
Yeah.
name of the
Everyone.
I
movie-
bet you do.
the name of the movie is Life as a House.
Life is a house. That's what I'm saying. Life is a house.
You're saying
you
is.
say it too fast.
Yeah, you say is.
Oh, am I saying it? I'm sorry. Let me slow down for you.
Oh,
you
my
slow.
goodness.
Take it to the pace that was on 24.
Let me slow down for you slow hearers. Life is a house. I do want to get this in. Breaking news. Trump, why are you laughing?
Sorry,
This is true.
Sorry, someone texted, show starts at 9, Chris.
Chris is like, all right, I'll show you.
Yep.
Trump reveals fate of the effing idiot who leaked top secret war messages.
Uh-oh.
Now, and I'm just reading the headlines. President Trump defended his national security advisor, Mike Waltz, in the wake of the Signal app scandal, calling him a good man who learned a lesson. His support comes amid calls for the national security advisor to step down, with one official calling him a effing idiot. Waltz...
Fair.
You know this story, right?
Yeah.
See, here's the deal, though. I love, because I don't think he should get fired. I don't. I think that good men can make mistakes. And I think that Mike Waltz is a good, well, it's like what Trump just said. I mean, he's been right there for the last 2 months.
I have a hard time believing it was a mistake. Have you ever used the Signal app?
No.
So you can only enter somebody in a chat by their username or by their phone number. And it lists just the same way as your contacts. I have a hard time believing, unless Jeffrey Goldberg's username was eerily similar to somebody in the Trump administration.
Well, maybe he set it up that way.
I don't know.
So you're thinking that this was intentional. People on the super text line have said that Mike Waltz is a member of the deep state.
I mean, who knows?
Whatever.
But my thing is, if it was intentional, this is another backfire like the Epstein binders.
I just don't think this was intentional. I think that he made a mistake. Why would he do this? Like,
I just look at the way you add people to Signal chats, and I feel like an accident is the least likely of the scenarios. That's just me.
Then maybe somehow other people are saying that maybe Goldberg was able to get in through his contacts with intelligence agencies, and he was able to slip in there. Is there a way to do that?
There was only one CIA official in the story that was unnamed.
So maybe we need to find out who. Yeah, but so if you're on Signal, I've never been on Signal. I'm not that important. So if you're on Signal, can other people add someone, or is it just
So I don't use Signal. I use Telegram. And I would assume it works the same way. But if you add somebody to a chat, there is a notification that somebody's been added to the chat.
And it also, when somebody leaves the chat.
Yep.
Because that's one of the things that Goldberg said was that when I left the chat, a little bubble pops up and says the guy with JG, I guess would it be, JG has left the chat. Then nobody's like, well, who the hell is JG? You know what I mean? But there were like 18 people on this thing. But this is a pretty tight-knit group, so you would have thought that somebody would have figured out that.
I'm in some pretty large Telegram groups with the Turning Point stuff, and you would notice if somebody was added and or removed.
And that brings us to, okay, so who was supposed to be on that call that wasn't? And Daily Wire was reporting, who was it, Joan?
I knew you were going to ask me that.
Somebody with the initials of JG.
Yeah.
So are you taking a break from Trump? Are you saying that you disagree with Donald Trump on this?
I mean, I just don't believe the official story. It feels like cleanup on aisle 5. Now, were they trying to play 5D chess again and then they screwed up? That I feel like that is way more likely of a scenario than somebody accidentally being added to the message.
People said one of the things they were trying to do was maybe set up Goldberg so that he would report something that ultimately turned out to be false, but then they shanked the execution.
Exactly.
So people have said that too.
That's what I think more than anything.
And that's where I'm leaning. And I just go because this administration has examples of that. And the Epstein binders is the biggest one. I think that they set those influencers up to create some animosity towards the SDNY FBI field office. And it blew up in their face and backfired. So I wouldn't be shocked if their goal was 4D, 5D chess, and they shanked that.
Well, and the White House is now doubling down on its defense. They are saying that no, and this may come down to your definition, but no war plans were discussed. No classified material was sent to the thread, says White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt, posting this morning. So, and this dude, Goldberg, he says, it was absolutely classified. Well he doesn't know what classified is. He's probably never seen it.
And fair point. But he should also post some receipts. You can redact. You've had plenty of time.
He did post a few things.
I saw the post, but those posts, they
look
don't
like it could be.
Yeah, they don't really say anything. The post that he showed, to me, made it seem like that was what they were trying to get out. Like they intentionally added him, and they wanted the anti-Europe sentiment in there, and the we're not carrying your water anymore.
Yeah.
Like that to me was like, okay, this is the intention of accidentally adding Goldberg.
But why
there.
would they? Okay, I'm gonna play devil's advocate. Why would they have to go through those great lengths to get out that anti-Europe attitude
when they say it in public all the time?
All the time.
I know.
And by the way, we may be splitting hairs, but when they say no war plans were discussed, okay, but that doesn't mean that the guy wasn't accidentally installed into the group chat. It just means that during the chat, they did not discuss any war plans. Goldberg, though, says that there was some war. So I think that this is an attack, the Houthi rebels attack. This was back, a couple of weeks ago now, wasn't it?
Yep.
So the attack has already happened. So maybe then somebody has to call out Goldberg and say, you know what, this attack has already happened. Prove that there were war plans or classified material that was discussed.
Yes.
Prove it. We give you full-on permission.
And throughout the entire article, Goldberg himself admits that he thinks this is a psyop and that he was added intentionally.
Yeah.
Throughout the entire article until he gets to the end, and then he goes, no, never mind. This was them screwing up.
Because, and the reason he said that was because basically they said, all right, in 2 hours, we're gonna bomb the rebels. And in 2 hours, the bombing happened.
Yeah.
But why would, I have a hard time believing that they would not know that until 2 hours beforehand. Do you think that timeline is accurate, that's how quickly things kind of develop?
That does feel a little weird, but I don't know how long it takes to get rockets into planes, and I don't know how long any of that takes.
I feel like you would know 12 hours, 24 hours before.
Yeah, but how do you know?
Depending on...
How do you know the conversation that those guys were having on that text message thread didn't start at a place that, there was another text message thread that had all the pertinent information before, and they were kind of just starting at the 50-yard line on that thread that Jerry, what's his name, Goldberg was in.
Jeffrey.
I mean, I think
Jeffrey.
it could have already been established, and then they added them.
Yeah, it's just,
I don't know.
The whole thing stinks.
It does.
But here's the deal, is that CNN has been all over this today and completely ignoring all of the other really good things that happened yesterday with Trump, Hyundai, South Korea. They're completely ignoring the nasty, vitriolic, violence-inducing language of one Jasmine Crockett.
Yep.
So this is giving the media cover not to cover the things that, Trump is doing that is really good.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of my points that I have today in my notes. If this was 4D chess, you've just given the left all the ammo they need.
Yeah, that's
You
exactly
failed.
right. So
no matter how you look at it, the Trump administration has egg on their face. Whether the plan was 4D chess or it was an accidental invitation into this chat, you have egg on your face.
Mark says the most obvious answer is usually the answer, which is somebody shanked it.
Yeah.
Somebody screwed up.
I'll show you when we go into break how you add somebody into a Signal chat.
Okay.
And that to me alone, I just don't buy that it was an accident adding him in there.
Here's the other thing that people are asking is why are they using a commercially available app for something as serious as this? Which I think is a legit question, but a guy hit me up on the super text line and he said, oh, I see.
So I just passed Dan the phone with the Signal app. This is how you add somebody into a chat.
So I wonder what.
So you either enter their phone number, you enter their username, or they're in your contacts like that.
Right. Interesting. I don't know. I think he was probably in a hurry and he shanked it. I think he just shanked it. I think that's what happened. And I love that Donald Trump is standing by him. I am impressed with that because he is not, and I mentioned this earlier when I said I hope that he doesn't, and he's not going to allow the media to bully him into firing Mike Waltz if Trump doesn't feel like Waltz deserves to be fired. And obviously, Trump believes that he doesn't deserve to be fired.
These are some big mistakes.
Big mistake. Whether we're talking about Epstein or now this, and I get it, but nothing rises to the level of what we've seen during Joe Biden. However, we do need to accept accountability.
And we have to hold ourselves to a bit of a higher standard than the Biden administration.
Oh, I think there's nowhere that we're going to go as far as mistakes goes. I hope not, where we reach the level of absurdity and incompetence of the Biden administration.
No.
Okay. 8:53, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk. Do you have anything fun for this segment? Should we Joan, can I ask,
Did you hear that Joe Rogan isn't going to go to UFC in Canada to call the fight?
No.
Why?
Because it's Canada.
Oh, seriously?
And he went on the record, said, I'd rather go to Russia.
Oh, whoa.
Wow.
Mic drop.
Wow.
I love it.
Did you say, Joan, there's a new Juicy Sommelier out there?
There is.
There is. It would make Juicy blush.
Yeah.
Jay, can you go through it real quick? Because I kind of heard it, but I kind of didn't because I was looking up Kevin Kline's politics.
So her name is LaTarsha Brown. She worked for Allentown City Hall. And she said when she came into work one day, there was a noose laying on her desk. So she called police. They went through all this. So the police actually they looked at all the video from everybody exiting the building the night before to that morning. They found 3 people who could have done what they did. They took their DNA, didn't match what was on that noose. So they said, hey, LaTarsha, we need your DNA. And she said, I think we need to close this investigation.
Oh, snap.
But they got it from her anyway. I guess they had a court order. They got it from her anyway, and they learned, it was her. She put a noose on her own desk.
They need to throw the book at this woman and make an example out of her.
They're not. She was charged with 2 misdemeanor charges.
Really? Because if somebody had actually put that noose on her desk, it would be intimidation. It would be hate crime. All of that.
It would rise to the next level because it's a hate crime. So these would be serious, serious charges. And it should be for her, too.
Should be, but it won't.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Joan.
My name is Joan.
I know your name is Joan.
Okay.
Whatever, Jan. with your fake news peddling.
You know what? I forget
news, fake traffic.
I forget Joan's name until that plays, and then it's like, oh, Joan. There you go.
So that's her theme music?
That is the Joan theme music. All right, Joan, what's coming up?
Well, we'll take a look at what's next after war plans were reportedly shared with an anti-Trump reporter. Also, is there a connection between a judge's Nazi comment and graffiti that's showing up in East Nashville? We've got those stories coming up at 9 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Joan. Chris, what do you got coming up?
Well, we're going to talk about the war plan leak, and then we'll also talk about the big pharma pick for CDC director.
Yep. Okay, very good. 8:55. Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7. Spring rebate madness is here at Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. They've got a lot of great rebates, a lot of great ways to save you money right now. A mini split 17 SEER or a heat pump 17 SEER. You're going to get an $800 rebate. Heat pumps 15 and 16 SEER, a $500 rebate. Duct sealing or repair, a $300 rebate. So many ways to save with my friends at Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. When you become a Beehive member, I've been a Beehive member, I think, for over 10 years. There's a lot of other benefits when you join the Beehive Club. You can check them all out at their website. Always tell them Dan told you to reach out. BusyBeeHVAC.com. Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. 615-775-7833. 615-775-7833. BusyBeeHVAC.com.